abẹ́ Ọlọ́run jọ̀ọ́ jàre kó ṣọ́ wa kó là wá kó gbà wá ní gbogbo ète àṣeyìtọ́n kó má bàa jẹ wá lérè. Abẹ́ lórúkọ Ọlọ́run ọba náà, ọba àṣọ, ọba akẹ́nipọ̀ láyé, ọba tó ṣe pé tó bá di ní ọ̀run ọ̀la, àwọn tó ṣe tiẹ̀, àwọn tó tẹ̀lé tiẹ̀, àwọn tó gba tiẹ̀ náà ni ó máa dẹni ìkẹ́. Abẹ́ Ọlọ́run jọ̀ọ́ jàre ọba tó láì ga jù kó ka èmi àti yín, kó kà wá mọ́ ẹni tí ó jèrè, tí ó máa bẹ lábẹ́ ìkẹ́ Ọlọ́run. Ọlọ́run má wá torí kó fẹ́ kẹ́ wa lọ́run ọ̀la náà jẹ́ àríkẹ́ láyé, jẹ́ a máa bẹ nínú ìkẹ́ ní sàárè bákan náà àti jọ́ ń gbéǹde alqiyama. Àti gbogbo àwọn ọmọ ìyá wa wípé a kú ara dúró, a kú ìṣọ́ ẹnu lẹ́ni tó ń gbàfà fún Ọlọ́run, lẹ́ni tó ń tẹ̀lé òfin Ọlọ́run tó ṣe pé ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykum siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. Ọba Ọlọ́run bá lékè ọlá tó pè mí àti ẹ̀yin láṣẹ wípé ká máa gba àwẹ̀ nínú oṣù Ramadan gẹ́gẹ́ bó ṣe pa àwọn kan náà láṣẹ láti gba àwẹ̀ irú àwẹ̀ tí wọ́n ó ṣeé ṣe kó jọ tiwa ó sì ṣeé ṣe kó jìnnà tiwa. Ìyẹn kan ló kàn wá, ṣùgbọ́n èyí tó kàn wá bàbàrà náà ni pé à ń tẹ̀lé àṣẹ Ọlọ́run. Kì í ṣe ẹ̀dẹ́ ìṣàwà nìkan lẹ́ni àkọ́kọ́ tọ́lọ́run sọ pé ká gba àwẹ̀, ó ti ní káwọn kan gbà ṣáájú tiwa, wíwá ní káwa náà gbà á, ó fi ṣoore fún wa náà ni, ó fi ṣọlá fún wa náà ni. Ọlọ́run má dùn wá lẹ́sùn bó ṣe wọ́n kéré mọ́ bí hákìlá haúlà wala quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Wọ́n ní ká sọ nípa wa tọ́ àdúgbò Ọlọ́run, ọmọ bíbí Nàìjíríà làwa náà láti Ìjẹ̀bú Òde, ó díẹ̀ pé ìlú Ìbàdàn ni wọ́n bí wa sí, àti bàbá àtìyá ọmọ Ìjẹ̀bú Òde ni wá pẹ̀lú ìlànà pẹ̀lú ìyọ̀ǹda Ọlọ́run. A sì bẹ̀rẹ̀ iléèwé àkọ́kọ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ náà ní St. James's Cathedral Òkè Bọ́lá Ìbàdàn. A lọ sí Ìjẹ̀bú Muslim College ní Ìjẹ̀bú Òde, tá a fi lọ sí high school Rivers State University of Science and Technology specializing in marine engineering. Àdẹ̀dúpẹ́ ọ̀dọ̀ Ọlọ́run pé àlámọ̀rí ìjẹ àtìmú náà ó gbé wa wá sí ìlú Amẹ́ríkà láti bí ọdún tó lé díẹ̀ ní 20 ọdún. Àdúpẹ́ ọ̀dọ̀ Ọlọ́run pé Ọlọ́run yọ̀ǹda fún wa ní ìyàwó alálùbáríkà àtàwọn ọmọ alálùbáríkà. A sì ń bẹ nínú àwọn tó ń ṣègbìyànjú nínú àwọn lèmọ́ọ̀mù ní mọ́ṣáláṣí Masjid Arozak ní Providence, Rhode Island. Ó jẹ́ tí àlẹ́yà sọ fẹnubà ní ṣókí tọ́yì. Tọ́, nǹkan tí wọ́n ní kí a sọ̀rọ̀ lé lórí lè ní òun náà ni kádàrá. I believe the topic says benefits of belief in divine decree and predestiny. Àǹfààní wo, ìwúlò wo ló ń bẹ fún ìní ìgbàgbọ́ nínú kádàrá àti àyànmọ́? Ìbéèrè tá a kọ́kọ́ ní láti máa béèrè lára wa kọ́nà náà lè yé ká lè tọpinpin ẹ̀ bó ṣe yẹ. Òun náà ni ṣé àyànmọ́ àti kádàrá nǹkan kan náà ni wọ́n. Kádàrá tá a bá gbọ́ dáadáa a rí pé èdè kan tó ṣàjòjì sédè Yorùbá ni, èdè tá a yá láti èdè tó jìnnà sédè Yorùbá ni. Torí tá a bá gbé wẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ a rí pé ìpìlẹ̀ gbólóhùn kádàrá kì í ṣe èdè Yorùbá, ṣùgbọ́n àyànmọ́ ìyẹn nítumọ̀, ìyẹn nípìlẹ̀ nínú gbólóhùn Yorùbá, nǹkan tá a yàn mọ́ ọ̀yàn. Tó bá wá rí bẹ́ẹ̀, kádàrá nínú ẹ̀sìn wa, ẹ̀sìn Islam tí Ànábì wa Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam tó gbélé wa lọ́wọ́, al-qadar ó ń túmọ̀ sí àyànmọ́ torí pé àlẹ́nu ń bẹ̀ bọ́n bá ṣe kọ́ mọ́ wa náà ni kì í ṣe bí mo ṣe fẹ́ kì í ṣe bó ṣe wù mí kì í ṣe bí mo ṣe gbà lérò ṣùgbọ́n nǹkan tá a kọ tí ò sí ẹnu mi ń bẹ̀ tí ò sí ìdásí ìlọ́wọ́sí mi ń bẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n a kọ́ mọ́ mi ni. alqadar tí Yorùbá ń pè ní kádàrá ó ń wá láti gbólóhùn lárúbáwá tá à ń pè ní alqadar táwa náà bá gbọ́ àárí pé ó fẹ́ ṣe déédéé ara wọn. tá a bá wá wo ìtumọ̀ ẹ̀ nílé Yorùbá máa sọ pé nǹkan tá a yàn mọ́ ni. yàtọ̀ sí èyí tí Yorùbá nígbàgbọ́ sí tó ń pè ní àkúnlẹ̀yàn. nínú ìgbàgbọ́ Yorùbá àkúnlẹ̀yàn ó ń túmọ̀ sí pé fúnra wa la sọ pé eléyìí la fẹ́ kì í ṣe pé wọ́n jẹ wá ń palẹ̀ lórí èyí tó ń wá lànà ká sí èyí tó ń wá láfàmọ́ra. nínú ìgbàgbọ́ Yorùbá nìyẹn a sì ń bọ̀ ń bẹ̀. a wá máa gbé lórí ìrírí ayé àti làákàyè ká wo èwo ni ó ṣe ni láǹfààní nínú ìgbàgbọ́ méjèèjì. èwo ló lè gbé ní débi ìfọ̀kànbalẹ̀ èwo ló lè fani kúrò níbi hílàhílo èwo ló lè fani kúrò níbi ìdààmú nínú ìgbàgbọ́ méjèèjì. gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìgbàgbọ́ tiwa nínú Islam alqadar ó ń túmọ̀ sí pé Ọlọ́run ọba dẹ́dá ọba tó dá gbogbo nǹkan tó ń jẹ́ ẹ̀dá ìmá ó ń ṣẹ̀mí ni àbí ó ṣẹ̀mí dídá wọn tọlọ́run ni. òun ni adẹ́dá gbogbo nǹkan yòókù lẹ̀dá ó sì nímọ̀ nǹkan tó gbáwájú fún gbogbo nǹkan tó dá. nínú ìmọ̀ àtòyé Ọlọ́run ó wá pín nǹkan tó wù ú fáwọn ẹ̀dá tó dá. èèyàn ò sì lè jẹ́ mùsùlùmí kó má nígbàgbọ́ pé Ọlọ́run ló gbé kabi tó wù ú. àlámọ̀rí wa ìgbésí ayé wa ìṣẹ̀mí wa ìkápá Ọlọ́run ni kì í ṣe mímọ̀ ṣe tiwa. kí ni ẹ̀rí wa? Ànábì wa Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ó ń sọ fún wa an tu'mina billahi wa malaikati wa kutubi wa rusuli wal yawmil akhir wa tu'mina bil qadar khairin wa shar. mùsùlùmí ò ní máa bẹ lẹ́ni tí gbàgbọ́ ẹ pé tí gbàgbọ́ ẹ lálàáfíà tí ò mẹ́hẹ àyàfi kó nígbàgbọ́ nínú Ọlọ́run ọba Allah ọba àṣọ tí ò lórogún tí ò lẹ́gbẹ̀ra. yóò tún máa nígbàgbọ́ wal malaika sí àwọn màláíkà Ọlọ́run àwọn ìránṣẹ́ sánmà tọ́lọ́ máa ń rán láwọn oríṣiríṣi iṣẹ́ tó wù Ọlọ́run ọba nínú ọlá àtògo ẹ̀. wa kutubi ìgbàgbọ́ mùmíní ò ní pé àyàfi kó nígbàgbọ́ sáwọn tírà tọ́lọ́run ọba àlékè ọlá tó sọ̀kalẹ̀ kó máa jẹ́ ìtọ́nisọ́nà fólùgbàgbọ́ òdodo. wàrúsùlì àwọn mọ̀láìkà àwọn ọlọ́run rán kán mú tírà wá fáwọn òjíṣẹ́ nínú ọmọ ẹ̀dá èèyàn. kó má bàa ti gbọ́n mi sí omi òtó ipe iṣẹ́ tán mú wá kò lè wúlò fún wa torí pé àárírú wa tó lò ó. ọlọ́run fi àwọn tírà rán àwọn mọ̀láìkà sáwọn ànábì ọlọ́run àtàwọn rọ̀sùl. wàlá áàkìr àtúní láti nígbàgbọ́ pé gbogbo ìta ṣe nígbésí ayé òṣèmí wa kò tán síbí báyìí o. apá kan nínú ìṣẹ̀mí wa níṣẹ̀mí ti gbésí ayé ti dúnìyà. àyè máa ṣe ìṣẹ̀mí mi ní sàárè àjíǹde sì ń bẹ lẹ́yìn ikú. wàtúmínà bilqadar a sì tún rí nínú ẹrù ìgbàgbọ́ mùsùlùmí a ní láti rí ìgbàgbọ́ nínú kádàrá ń bẹ. khairi wa shar ìmá èyí tó jẹ́ dáadáa nínú àwọn ìṣesí ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ sí àbí ìtófú kù díẹ̀ káàtó tí ò dùn mọ́nú tí ò bá lára mu. ó ní láti gbà méjèèjì pé ọlọ́run ọba ní ṣọlá ọlọ́run ọba ló ní kápá wí bẹ́ẹ̀ jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ tí ń ṣẹlẹ̀ sóhun kò sí lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀dá kan àyàfọ́ ọlọ́run ọba àlá. ìmọ̀ nígbàgbọ́ sí kádàrá ó ń túmọ̀ sí wípé a nígbàgbọ́ ní tí ò gbọdọ̀ síyèméjì ń bẹ. wípé gbogbo nǹkan tó bá ṣẹlẹ̀ sí wa afẹ́ ni ó wù wá ní kò wù wá ní ó dùn mọ́ wá nú ni kò dùn mọ́ wá nú ni àtọ̀dọ̀ Ọlọ́run ni. ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ sí wa ìmáṣẹlẹ̀ sí wa kò tayọ agbára Ọlọ́run kò tayọ ìmọ̀ Ọlọ́run kò tayọ òye Ọlọ́run. a ní láti gbàgbọ́ ìyẹn ló ń jẹ́ kádàrá nínú ọ̀kan nínú àwọn òpó ìgbàgbọ́ tí mùsùlùmí láti ní àdìmẹ́rù fún. kí ni ẹ̀rí wa? ọlọ́run ọba àlékè ọlá ń sọ fún wa nínú alukoran alápọ̀nlé. ó ń sọ báyìí pé ba'da a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim ma asaba min musiba fil ardi wala fi anfusikum illa fi kitabin min qabl an nabaraha inna dhalika ala Allahi yasir likay la tasaw ala ma fatakum wala tafra'u bima atakum wallahu la yuhibbu kulla mukhtalin fakhur. ọlọ́run bọ́ba àlékè ọlá ó ní ẹ lọ mọ̀ ó ní àmọ̀dájú tí ò gbọ́dọ̀ sí èméjì ń bẹ. kí làmọ̀dájú náà? ma asaba min musiba pé aburú kan àjálù kan kò ní máa ṣẹlẹ̀ fil ard ní orílẹ̀ ayé wala fi anfusikum àbísẹ́mi yín àbísí yín kó máa ṣẹlẹ̀ lọ́dẹ̀dẹ̀ yín àbí lọ́dẹ̀dẹ̀ àwọn ẹlòmíì ládùúgbò ẹlòmíì nílùú bòmíì. illa fi kitabin min qabl an tabaraha àyàfi wípé ó ti ń bẹ́nu àkọọ́lẹ̀ nínú ìwé tọ́lọ́run ọba àlékè ọlá tí ń pàṣẹ fún kálámù pé kó máa kọ ká tó dáyé ká tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ń ṣẹ̀mí làkọsílẹ̀ yẹn ti wà. Allahu mahfuz nínú ìwé náà tí a ń kọ àkọọ́lẹ̀ sí èyí tá a kọ ní kádàrá fún kó wa kó tó dé kékeré kí ni ó ti ẹ̀ wá ṣẹlẹ̀ rárá ó ti ń bẹ́nu àkọọ́lẹ̀. Inna dhalika alallahi yasir ní tí ò gbọdọ̀ sí àríyànjiyàn lórí ẹ̀ pé ó rọrùn fọ́lọ́run láti ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ ó sì ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀. likay la tasaw ala ma fatakum wa la tafrahu bima atakum wallahu la yuhibbu kulla mukhtalin fakhur. Ọlọ́run ní dájúdájú o a máa ṣẹlẹ̀ sí yín pé ẹ máa banújẹ́ lórí àwọn nǹkan tẹ́ lé tẹ́ bá tẹ́ fà tẹ́ rí mú tẹ́ lù tí ò yọ tẹ́ ṣe gbìyànjú tó bọ́. Ẹ máa banújẹ́ lé lórí torí pé ṣe wàhálà àbí ẹ ti ẹ̀kan òrókò tọ́ sí yín ni wípé tí gbogbo ayé bá ní kí ló ṣe tẹ́mi náà lè ní. Àbí kẹ́ tún máa dunnú lórí àwọn nǹkan táwọn Ọlọ́run ta fún yín. Ṣùgbọ́n ẹ lọ mọ̀ dájú o ìmáa fún yín ní ìmọ̀ yìí kó lè gbé fúyẹ́ fún yín kẹ́ má bàa kóra yín sí wàhálà kẹ́ mọ̀ pé èyí tẹ́ fà tó tó Ọlọ́run ni èyí tẹ́ lù tó yọ Ọlọ́run ni èyí tẹ́ fà tí ò tó Ọlọ́run náà ni eléyìí náà ló sì lè fún yín ní fọ̀kànbalẹ̀. Ọlọ́run ní kí ni wallahu la yuhibbu kulla mukhtalin fakhur. Ọlọ́run ó lóun ò nífẹ̀ẹ́ sí àwọn wo àwọn tí wọ́n máa ń ṣe gangan lórí ilẹ̀ àwọn tó máa ń gapá lórí ilẹ̀ Ọlọ́run lóun ò nífẹ̀ẹ́ sí wọn o. tó ń túmọ̀ sí pé àṣeyọrí kó wá ní gbogbo nǹkan ọwọ́ Ọlọ́run ló wà àṣetì ẹ̀ náà ọwọ́ Ọlọ́run ló wà tó bá wá ṣe tó bá rí ṣe má rò pé ìwọ ló mọ̀ ọ́ ṣe. Àyá Al-Qur'ani tá a mú tọ́ka ìwá yìí ó ń rìn mọ́lẹ̀ wípé gbogbo ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ nígbésí ayé Ọlọ́run ní fil ard wala fi anfusikum kì í ṣe lọ́dọ̀ yín nìkan àbí sàkání yín nìkan o bó ṣe ń ṣẹlẹ̀ sí yín náà ló ń ṣẹlẹ̀ láwọn bòmíì ó lè má hàn sí yín ṣùgbọ́n ẹ lọ mọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀. àti dáadáa ìjọ tí dáadáa ti ń ṣe sọ́dọ̀ ẹ tó ń rò pé dáadáa ò ṣẹlẹ̀ sọ́dọ̀ ẹlòmíì ìjọ tá aburú dẹ̀ ń ṣẹlẹ̀ sọ́dọ̀ ẹ náà tó ń rò pé ọ̀dọ̀ ẹnìkan náà ni aburú yẹn ń ṣẹlẹ̀ sí kò ṣẹlẹ̀ sẹ́lòmíì bó ṣe kárí ayé nìyẹn. Ọlọ́run ló fi mọ̀ àtòyé ẹ̀ ló fi pín kárí kò sì sí bàbá ńlá ẹni tó lè sọ pé ó ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀. tó bá wá rí bẹ́ẹ̀ ìní ìgbàgbọ́ yìí ń sọ fún wa ká má banújẹ́ ká má bara jẹ́ ká má bọkàn jẹ́ kó sì má yíngin ìgbàgbọ́ wa nínú Ọlọ́run ìdúró ti Ọlọ́run wa ìnífẹ̀ẹ́ sí nǹkan tí Ọlọ́run nífẹ̀ẹ́ sí wa ìsákúrò níbi nǹkan tí Ọlọ́run ní ká sákúrò ká sì má yàyọ̀ pọ̀rọ̀ lórí àwọn àṣeyọrí tá a bá ṣe ṣùgbọ́n ká máa bẹ lẹ́ni tí ń dúpẹ́ lẹ́ni tí ń jírẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ìpele tá a ṣe tá a mú yìí kọ́lọ́njẹ́ arí mi ṣe bí akíla haula wala quwwata illa billahi al-azim. ìkọ́nà àwọn sàbí ànábì wa Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa sallam kí Ọlọ́run bá kí ó bá wa yọ́nú sí i. Ó gba ẹ̀dà ọ̀rọ̀ yìí wá látọ̀dọ̀ òjíṣẹ́ ńlá Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa sallam pé ànábì ń sọ pé tí Ọlọ́run bá wò nínú ọlá ẹ̀, nínú agbára ẹ̀, nínú ìfiṣọlá ẹ̀ lórí àwọn ẹ̀dá ẹ̀, tó bá ń fi ìyà jẹ gbogbo kómi ẹ̀dá tí ń bẹ ní sánmọ̀ àtilẹ̀, kò ní túmọ̀ sí pé Ọlọ́run ṣàìdá pẹ̀lú wọn, kò sì ní túmọ̀ sí pé ó ṣàbòsí pẹ̀lú wọn. Tó bá sì fi ọwọ́ ọ̀kẹ́ ẹ̀ gbá wọn mú, tó bá ṣàánú wọn lórí àlámọ̀rí wọn àti tó yí wọn po, ìyẹn náà ò túmọ̀ sí pé iṣẹ́ ọwọ́ wọn òun ló nìkan ní ẹ̀tọ́ sí àánú Ọlọ́run. Àtìyà àtàánú Ọlọ́run, ẹ̀tọ́ Ọlọ́run ni láti lò ó bó ṣe wù ú lórí àwọn ẹ̀dá tó dá. Àfáà yìí tí wá ń tẹ̀síwájú nínú ẹgbà ẹ̀rọ ẹ̀ pé ànábì Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam ń sọ fún wa ipe tí ọmọ ẹ̀dá èèyàn tó bá gbé wúrà tó tó òkè wood àbí tó fẹ́ tó ní tó wá ná sọ́nà ọ̀tọ̀ Ọlọ́run tó fi ṣe tọlọ́run bọ́lọ́run ṣe júwe pé báyìí la ṣe ń fowó àti ọrọ̀ ṣe tọlọ́run, tó bá fi ṣe, ṣùgbọ́n tí ò nígbàgbọ́ sí kádàrá ànígbà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ o, ànígbàṣẹ́ ní lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ níṣẹ́ olóore tí ó ní bùkátà fẹ́sàn. Eléyìí ó ń fi rinlẹ̀ pàtàkì ìgbàgbọ́ nínú kádàrá fún mùsùlùmí tí gbàgbọ́ ẹ̀ lálàáfíà tó sì pé. Ànábì wa Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam ó ní ànígbà àyàfi ìgbà tó bá mọ̀ wípé nǹkan tó ń tọrọ, nǹkan tó fẹ́ tí ò padà rí kò sínú àkọọ́lẹ̀ fún ni o. Àbí àjálù tí ò kàn tó kọ́ àwọn ẹgbẹ́ ẹ̀, wọ́n sì jọ wà ń sàkání kan náà, wọ́n jọ wà lágbègbè kan náà, aburú tó ṣe wọ́n tí ò ṣe kò sínú àkọọ́lẹ̀ pé yóò ṣe ni, ṣùgbọ́n tí ń bẹ́nu àkọọ́lẹ̀ pé yóò ṣe àwọn ẹni nì. Ànábì wa ó wá fóun tẹ̀lé, ó ní tí ẹnikẹ́ni tó bá kú lórí àìnígbàgbọ́ sí kádàrá, kì í ṣe pé àgbà kan fìkan lẹ̀, kádàrá nínú aburú àti dáadáa, tó bá kú lórí ibẹ̀ kò ní rí ìyọ́nú Ọlọ́run o, iná Ọlọ́run ni ó wọ̀. Jàmá mùsùlùmí, Ọlọ́run ọba àlékè ọlá, òun ló ní ìkápá kádàrá, òun ló ní àṣẹ kádàrá, òun ló ní àbójútó kádàrá, òun ló ní kí wọ́n kọ kádàrá, kì í ṣe nǹkan tẹ́nì kankan yàn, òun ló yàn fún wa, òun ló mọ̀ ìpìlẹ̀ tó ṣe sọ pé lè ló tọ́ sí kó wá, àyàfi ká máa bẹ́ẹ̀ oore tó wọlé tọ̀ mí wá kì í ṣe mímọ̀ ṣe mi o. Èyí tó kù díẹ̀ káàtó náà tó tọ̀ mí wá kò túmọ̀ sí pé àìmọ̀ ṣe. Àyí ń bọ̀ lórí ẹ̀ torí fàǹfà máa wà lórí àfọwọ́fà àti kádàrá tí ànábì wa Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam tó sì yànnàná ẹ̀ pé gbogbo àwọn aburú tó ṣẹlẹ̀ sí wa àwa la fọwọ́ fà á sì máa ṣàlàyé ẹ̀ pẹ̀lú ògo Ọlọ́run kó fún wa ní ìgbà láyé ẹ̀. Kí lọ́lọ́run ọba àlékè ọlá wí nínú Suratu Nisa ó ní ma asabaka min hasanati faminallah wa ma asabaka min sayyiati faminan nafsik. Quran chapter 4 verse 79 ọlọ́run ọba àlékè ọlá ó ní ẹ lọ mọ̀ o ìtó kéré àti tó tóbi nínú dáadáa tó ṣẹlẹ̀ sí yín faminallah ọ̀dọ̀ Ọlọ́run ló ti wá o. Wa ma asabaka min sayyi'at faminan nafsik. Ìtó bá ti ṣẹlẹ̀ láburú sí yín àfọwọ́fà yín ni o. Ẹ̀yin lẹ pé o. Ẹ̀yin lẹ po lè kó wájà látara ìmọ̀ ìgbàgbọ́ yín ìṣesí yín ìhùwàsí yín àdìmọ́kàn yín àbí ìbáṣepọ̀ àwọn èèyàn tọ́kọ tí wọ́n bá yín. Kí ọ̀rọ̀ àti túmọ̀ kádàrá kó lè yé wa dáadáa. Kí a mú àpèjúwe wa. Àpèjúwe tó jìnnà síra wọn, àfijọ́ tó jìnnà síra wọn, ṣùgbọ́n tó lè gbé fúyẹ́ láti ní àgbọ́yé ìtumọ̀ kádàrá àbí àyànmọ́. Kí gbogbo wa ká wò tí àwọn tó bá ń kọ́lé àwọn builders tó bá ní project láti ṣe wọ́n á gba architect wọ́n á gba quantity surveyor wọ́n á gba àwọn different building professionals. They will put up a design pé ilé tá a fẹ́ kọ́ yìí o bá a ṣe fẹ́ kó rí rèé bá a ṣe fẹ́ kó tó rèé àwọn àǹfààní tó máa wúlò látara ìmàlólé náà òun náà rèé àwọn ìdáàbòbò tá a fẹ́ ṣe sísàkání ilé náà àwọn rèé wọ́n á ṣàkó gbogbo ẹ̀jọ́. Tẹ́ni tí ó mọ̀ pé wọ́n fẹ́ kọ́lé síbì kan ilẹ̀ lòun rí tó ń kọjá ń bẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n iṣẹ́ tí ń lọ kán tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí kó bricklayer kán tó kó àwọn caterpillar nǹkan kan wá sí site láti wá máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ iṣẹ́ ṣe mọ̀ pé àkọsílẹ̀ bá ṣe fẹ́ ṣiṣẹ́ yẹn ó ti ṣáájú. There has been a plan, architectural design, structural design, everything. All has been documented prior. If approval got in lọ́dọ̀ city, sewage ní gbogbo ẹ̀, safety regulations wọ́n ti wo gbogbo ẹ̀. Bẹ́ẹ̀ gẹ́lẹ́ lọ̀rọ̀ wa rí. Kọ́lọ́n tó dá wa ló ti ní kọ́kọ́ àkọsílẹ̀ gbogbo ẹ̀dá kọ̀ọ̀kan. À ń bọ̀ wá ṣàlàyé ẹ̀. Lórí àwọn nǹkan mẹ́rin tààrẹ́ rí ẹ̀ látọ̀dọ̀ Ànábì wa Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. À ń fẹ́ kí ọ̀rọ̀ kádàrá kó yé wa ká lè mọ pàtàkì ìgbàgbọ́ yẹn kí ló fẹ́ ṣe nígbésí ayé ìṣẹ̀mí wa. Àkọsílẹ̀ yẹn ti wà. The master plan has been established. Bó jẹ́ odidi ìlú ní àdúgbò ni wọ́n á ti kọ́kọ́ dúró gbogbo ẹ̀ wọ́n á ti ṣe. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà lọ́lọ́run ṣe master plan ìgbésí ayé tá à ń lò yìí kó tó dá wa rárá. So tí building yẹn bá kúlẹ̀ wá tán bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ń wúlẹ̀ ká fi ìwúlẹ̀ yẹn ká fi ṣe negative thing tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀. Tán bá dẹ̀ wúlẹ̀ wọn ò lè kọ́lé. Bóyá àwọn igi ló wà bẹ́ẹ̀ tẹ́lẹ̀ bóyá àwọn nǹkan míì ló wà tẹ́lẹ̀ wọ́n á displace gbogbo àwọn nǹkan tó wà níbẹ̀ yẹn. Wọ́n lè rí iṣẹ́ tán ṣe wọ́n lè rí ṣe. There will be some destructions that are not necessarily pleasant to some people. Ṣùgbọ́n àwọn tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ wọ́n gbowó iṣẹ́ àbí wọ́n gbowó iṣẹ́ àwọn yẹn ń gbowó iṣẹ́ now. There's benefit in that destruction for some people. Lára kádàrá náà ni pé ká má lálàáfíà láwọn ìgbà kan. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wa ni nurse, ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wa ni doctor. Ṣé táwọn Yorùbá sì ká máa níṣẹ́? Ṣé tí mọ́tò bá l'accident? Àwọn panel beater máa jẹun. Àwọn mechanic tí mọ́tò bá bàjẹ́ wọ́n máa jẹun. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni ìgbàgbọ́ wa nínú kádàrá ṣe ní láti wà. Ó jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ, ṣùgbọ́n ilé lè gbé fúyẹ́ lẹ́nu wa ká bá gbọ́yé wípé sẹ́ kò ṣe ṣì. Ó sọ kò bá mi, Ọlọ́run ni ó bá ẹni. Ó sì sọ bá ẹ, Ọlọ́run ti sọ pé yóò bá ẹni. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí planner náà ṣe tún ti ní master plan yẹn, there's a timeline concept. Wọ́n ní the first week wọ́n máa dig ni. The second week wọ́n máa ṣe piling ni. The third week wọ́n máa lay foundation ni. Ẹ pé nínú àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ yẹn ṣé àwọn kan ó ti parí bẹ̀ yẹn. Wọ́n tún ní bá ṣe pẹ̀lú project yẹn mọ́. Another set of labourers bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni gbèsè ayé ọmọ ẹ̀dá ènìyàn. Ìtọ́lọ̀ ń kọ́ mọ́ wa ipa máa lò láyé la máa lò èèyàn kan ò lè fi kún kò sì lè dínkù. There's timeline for everything in that project, and the project of life too was designed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Àwọn lè rò pé engineer structural engineer ló important, but tí ẹni pé kó design ó ti parí iṣẹ́ tiẹ̀. Ó ti bá tiẹ̀ lọ. Àwọn ẹlòmíì ló máa wá execute nǹkan tó ń design yẹn. Ìgbà míì ó lè ṣe sábàbí ó lè ṣe kó yẹ kóun ló máa supervise ẹ̀. Ìgbà míì ó lè má jẹ́ kóun ló máa supervise ẹ̀. Another supervising engineer náà máa tún wò ó kó tún wá verify tó design pé ṣó ń ṣiṣẹ́ orí ní working in reality. Eléyìí a máa túmọ̀ sí kádàrá ní ìtọ́lọ́run ti nímọ̀ ẹ̀. Ṣẹ̀gbẹ́gbà tí wọ́n wúlẹ̀ tó ń ṣe ṣakaṣaka tó ń ṣe oríṣiríṣi ẹni tí ò rí master plan tí ò rí design ẹ̀ tí ò rí 3D ẹ̀ kò mọ̀ nǹkan tó fẹ́ kọ́. A kò máa rò pé kí wọ́n kọ́ sí ìgbà yìí kí ló jọ kí ló ṣe ṣùgbọ́n ọba tó design ẹ̀ ó ti mọ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ ó ti mọ̀ pin ẹ̀. Òun ló làgbé kalẹ̀. Ibi tí wọ́n ṣe pé àkàwé tá a fẹ́ ṣe yìí ó jìnnà síra wọn ní wípé lọ́dọ̀ designer àwọn nǹkan kan wà tí ò sí under his control but pẹ̀lú Ọlọ́run kò sí tí ò sí under our last control. Èyàn design nǹkan míì gbà mí á yíwọ́ ṣùgbọ́n tọ́lọ́run kọ́. Everything will happen the way Allah has measured it, has designed it. He has the absolute ability and control over its manifestation. yẹ pé bí ó lè má jẹ òǹgàn lónìí ó lè pẹ́ gbàtọ́ bá kọ́lé yẹn lọ ẹni tó nílé sọ pé mi dẹ̀ láì bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹ ṣí báyìí ẹ ọ̀tá ẹ̀ tọrọ ọlọ́run kọ́ kò sẹ́ni tó máa sọ ẹ fọ́lọ́run.
Allahu Akbar.
bó ṣe ló máa rí nígbà tó máa rí láàyè tó máa rí gẹ́lẹ́ bó ṣe máa rí bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ó rí ìyẹn ní tọ́lọ́run. làákàyè ò sì lè kakò làákàyè ò kakò ìgbàgbọ́ tọ́lọ́run ní ká ní sínú kádàrá tá a bá wo gbèsè ayé ìṣẹ̀mí wa yàtọ̀ sí àkúnlẹ̀yàn tí yóò bá gbélé wa lọ́wọ́ ó takò làákàyè. wọ́n ní ọmọ ta nìṣẹ́wùn tó bá yẹ kí gbogbo aláyàn ni láfẹ̀yàn ni gbogbo alá àbáyan olówó àbáyan lọ́lá lóbì àbáyan gígùn ẹ̀mí àbáyan àláfíà ara àbáyan àrísìkí tó pọ̀. ṣùgbọ́n kò sí nínú kápá wa ní àyàfi ká gbà fọ́lọ́run lórí ìtúkọmọ́ wa ká sì wá máa bẹ́ẹ̀ pé kó ṣe wá pẹ̀lẹ́pẹ̀lẹ́. a ti ń gbé wájú mọ́ kádàrá. ọlọ́run ló mọ̀ kangun kádàrá ẹ̀dá ò mọ̀. just like bricklayer tó ń pè kó wá bá wọn ṣe tó ọba fi plan ibi master plan wọn òun kàn máa mọ blọọkì ní kó nǹkan tó bá ṣá tí ẹnjìnìá bá ti ní kó ṣe ló máa ṣe kò mọ the end result tí iṣẹ́ tó ní kò ń ṣe. báwa náà ò ṣe mọ ìtọ́lọ́run ọba wa kọ mọ́ wa bọ́tọ́lọ́run bá mọ̀ ní àní ṣe wàhálà àní ṣe gbìyànjú ṣùgbọ́n a máa ṣe nǹkan tọ́lọ́run ní ká ṣe àwọn nǹkan tó júwe fún wa ta ní láṣẹ ń gbèsè ayé láti rí ẹ̀ kádàrá wa gbà wájú fún wa àwọn àṣẹ nǹkan tí kádàrá sọ rèé kó lè yé wa dáadáa. Ànábì Yusuf alayhi salatu wa salam nígbà tọ́lọ́run ti ẹ̀kan tó kàn ṣojú ẹ̀ fún torí Ànábì wa Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam ó jẹ́ ká mọ̀ pé lára wáàyí ni ká máa lálàá wà ìdá kan nínú ogún mẹ́rin 40 àbí
ogún mẹ́rin 80 ogójì ní 40.
ogójì ní 40 ẹ ṣeun. òun ní ká máa ní lálàá ló jẹ́ nínú nǹkan tá a fẹ́ ta kàn fẹ́ tàbá tẹ wà ànábì Ibrahim alayhi salatu wa salam náà gbà tó ń yẹ pé ànábì ọlọ́run ni wọ́n gbà tó ọlọ́run tún fẹ́ bá wọn sọ̀rọ̀ láwọn àyè kan ojú àlá ló ti bá wọn sọ̀rọ̀. ànábì Yusuf alayhi salatu wa salam nígbà tó lálàá pé ìràwọ̀ àtòṣùpá wọ́n forí balẹ̀ fóun ó dá làákàyè ẹ̀ láàmú ó wà lọ fọ̀rọ̀ lọ bàbá ẹ̀ tẹ̀yìn pé dárájà bàbá ti ju tọmọ lọ nígbà yẹn ìtumọ̀ yẹn yé bàbá ṣùgbọ́n bàbá náà mọ bọ́rọ̀ yẹn ó ṣe padà já sí ṣùgbọ́n gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹni ọlọ́run ó ní òye pé tọ́ eléyìí tó gbọ́ yìí má jẹ́ kí àwọn ọba kan ẹgbọ́n o torí pé àṣetán àgbínsẹ́mi wọn láti fẹ́ dínà dé ṣùgbọ́n tọ́lọ́run ni ó padà ṣe tọ́lọ́run ṣe àbí òṣẹ. gbogbo wàhálà tó kóra wọn sí tọ́ta Yusufu sóko ẹrú gbogbo ìgbìyànjú tó ṣe kálá Yusufu má lè ṣẹ ó padà ṣe àbí òṣẹ. ó ṣe tó ń túmọ̀ sí pé a lè dí kádàrá lọ́wọ́ kó má gbà yí ẹ̀ kádàrá dàbí ọ̀rọ̀ omi tá a dé mọ́lé ni arọ́nà lọ. ó wá túmọ̀ sí pé tí mùsùlùmí bá gbọ́ tó bá sì ní ìgbàgbọ́ kádàrá yé kò ní dààmú ara ẹ̀ pé oṣó ń ṣe mí, àjẹ́ ń ṣe mí, ẹlẹ́bọ olóògùn ń ṣe mí, yóò kọjú tọlọ́run. Yóò kọjú tọlọ́run, ọba tó bá dòwò pọ̀, ọba tí ó san lẹ́san, ọba tí ó fún lérè, ọba tí ó dáàbò bò, ọba tí ó ṣọ́, ọba tí ó padà ṣe kí ni, tí ó bá padà gbẹ̀mí kó wá. Àtẹni tó le tó bá, àtẹni tó le tí ò bá, kí nígbà gbogbo wa à ń padà sọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run náà ni. À ń padà sọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run ni. So kò ní wéṣì àsìkò, kò ní fàṣìkò ráre nípa ìmá banújẹ́ lórí nǹkan tó fẹ́ tó rí, àbí tó fẹ́ ìyí tí ò rò tó jàjálù fún. A máa ṣe sùúrù. Ànábì wa Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ó tọ̀nà náà lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀, ṣùgbọ́n ká má gbàsìkò púpọ̀, Ọlọ́run lè fún wa gbà láyè láti tún débẹ̀. Àwọn ìpele mẹ́rin nígbàgbọ́ wa nínú kádàrá. Àkọ́kọ́, a ní láti ní ìgbàgbọ́ nínú ìmọ̀ Ọlọ́run nípa kádàrá wa àti àìmọ̀ tiwa nípa kádàrá. Ṣùgbọ́n a ní láti máa ṣiṣẹ́ olóore kí kádàrá tó gbáwájú fún wa. Ọlọ́run mọ̀ gbogbo nǹkan, ó sì ní kápá lórí gbogbo nǹkan. Even kó kéré bí èràlẹ̀, àbò ń bẹ sánmọ̀, àbò ń bẹ ní ìsàlẹ̀ odò, kò sí tí ó ṣókùnkùn sí Ọlọ́run ọba lékè ọlá. Ó mọ̀ gbogbo ẹ̀dá ẹ̀ pátá, gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹni tó design ṣe mọ̀ every element of the design, the timeline, what is required, paperwork that is required. Ọlọ́run mọ̀ jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Ìmọ̀ designer building ó wà limited in scope and size. Ṣùgbọ́n tọ́lọ́run alimul ghaibi wa shahadati huwa rahmanur rahim. Òun ni mọ̀ tọ́lọ́run. Ó mọ̀ ètò gbáwájú nínú ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀, ó mọ̀ ètò kángun nínú ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀, ó mọ̀ ètò wà láàrin. Torí pé kí ni, òun lọ́ba dẹ́dà, òun lọ́ba ṣẹ̀dá, òun náà sì lọ́ba pẹ̀dá, òun náà lọ́ba tí ó sì gbẹ̀dá jíde, àjíǹde lẹ́yìn ikú. Èyí tó pamọ́ àti tó bò gbangba wájú Ọlọ́run ni. Ó lè bò fẹ́ dá gbangba níwájú Ọlọ́run ni. Kí ni àwọn ẹ̀rí wa? Ọlọ́run ọba àlékè ọlá, ó ní wa anna Allah qad ahata bi kulli shay'in ilma. Ó ní èmi Ọlọ́run, ìmọ̀ mi ó kájú ẹ̀, ó kájú gbogbo nǹkan. Láyé ọ̀kọ̀ọ̀kan lẹ̀. Bi kulli shay'in ilma. Pátápátá ni ìmọ̀ mi ló kárí ẹ̀. Àdìyẹ rí nínú Surah At-Talaq, Quran 65 verse 12. Bákan náà, kọ́kọ́rọ́ àṣírí, kọ́kọ́rọ́ ìkọ̀kọ̀, kọ́kọ́rọ́ ohun tó pamọ́ kò sí lọ́wọ́ ẹnìkan o, àfọlọ́run ọba Allah. Kí ni ẹ̀rí wa? Suratul An'am, Ọlọ́run ṣe ba'da a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, wa indahu mafatihul ghaib la ya'lamuha illa hu wa ya'lamu ma fil barri wal bahri wa ma tasqutu min waraqatin illa ya'lamuha wala habatin fi dhulumatil ard wala ratbin wala yabisin illa fi kitabin mubin. Ọlọ́run ní pẹ̀lú àwọn Ọlọ́run, òun ni kọ́kọ́rọ́ ohun tó pamọ́. La ya'lamuha illa hu, kò sì sẹ́ni tó mọ̀ àyàfi òun Ọlọ́run.
Allahu Akbar.
Kò sí ẹni tó mọ̀ àyàfi òun Ọlọ́run. Ègé tá bá tún rí tá bá tún wò ìgbésí ayé tá ń lò lénìí, làákàyè tọ́ka sí pé bó ṣe rí nìyẹn. Làákàyè ń jẹ́rìí sí, ẹ wo COVID, ẹ wo nǹkan tó fojú wa rí. Táwọn kan tàn wá ìgbà tá a fẹ́ wọ 2020 pé year of kìíní kan ni year of prosperity ni. Tán bá mọ̀ ṣé lódodo ni. Ká tún gbé yẹn lẹ̀. Ẹ wo how long it took us to even discover the vaccine tó jẹ́ ká lè máa ráyé ayé gbé díẹ̀ sí without COVID. Èèyàn kan ò ní mọ̀ kọ̀kọ̀ àyàfi tọ́lọ́run bá fi mọ̀ ẹ́ ní tíntín ní bíntín. Sọ̀bí kéèyàn kan máa wá fọwọ́ láyà pé àwa mọ̀ nǹkan kan téèyàn kan ò mọ̀. Ẹ sọ fún pólódo ni. Nǹkan tó wà nípàkọ́ ẹ̀gọ́ kò mọ̀. Kó wá máa sọ fún wa pé òun mọ̀ nǹkan tó wà ní sánmọ̀ àtilẹ̀. Ọba mi ló mọ̀, kò sì sẹ́nìkan tó mọ̀ àyàfi òun. Òun ló mọ̀ nǹkan tó wà ńbẹ̀. Nísàlẹ̀ odò ni, lórí ilẹ̀ ni, ewé kan ò sì ní jábọ́ àyàfi pẹ̀lú ìmọ̀ Ọlọ́run ọba ìlékè ọlá. Àwọn èso ò sì ní jábọ́ bákan náà àyàfi pẹ̀lú ìmọ̀ Ọlọ́run ọba ni. Ìmá ó gbẹ ni àbí ó tẹ̀yìn bẹ́ ń tútù. Káṣáwó àárí igi méjì, ìkan ti gbẹ, ó ti gbẹ, ìkan ìtutù, orí rùmúrùmú ó fẹ̀, atẹ́gùn àti fẹ́, ìyí tó gbẹ ò ní ṣubú, ìyí tó tutù táàyè lórí òpó lálàáfíà ní òṣùbù. Àbí láyé tá ń lóyìn náà kọ́. Lèèyàn kan ń ṣàìsàn, lèèyàn kan ń tọ́jú ẹ̀, ẹni tó ń tọ́jú aláìsàn ló ń ṣàìsí. Abẹ́ Ọlọ́run jọ̀ọ́ jàre gbogbo àwọn èèyàn tó ń bẹ ní dùbúlẹ̀ àìsàn, ó kéré ó tóbi, Ọlọ́run mọ́ṣáàbá fún wọn lálàáfíà nínú ṣan ara wọn, ẹ̀jẹ̀ ara wọn, omi ara wọn, oríkèéríkèé ara wọn. Ìwọ náà lọ́ba ìwòsàn, ọlọ́ba fún wọn ní ìwòsàn. Ya Rabbi ishfi anta shafi, mọ́ṣáàbá fún wọn wòsàn. Bihaqqi la hawla wala quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. Gbogbo nǹkan pátápátá ni o, kò sí illa fi kitabin mubin. Ó ti ń bẹ nínú àkọọ́lẹ̀ pẹ̀lú ọba tó ní nǹkan kò sí ní yíngí ẹ̀. Nǹkan kan ní yíngí ẹ̀. Ànábì wa Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam ó ní àkọ́kọ́ nǹkan tí Ọlọ́run bá dá, òun náà ni kọ́làm, òun náà ni gègé. Ó wá ń pàṣẹ fún gègé wípé máa kọ. Gègé ní ìwọ Ọlọ́run ọba mi ò, kí ni kí n kọ? Ọlọ́run ọba ìlékè ọlá ó ní máa kọ gbogbo nǹkan tí ó máa bẹ, àyè tí wọ́n ti máa bẹ, títí dìgbà tán máa bẹ tí bíbẹ ò ti ní bẹ, tí bíbẹ sì máa tán lórílẹ̀. Every element of existence has been documented, has been established prior to the creation, and it's as simple as that. And when we know this, it gives us peace of mind. That is the benefit of our belief in Qadar. That we are not in control. We cannot be in control. It's too complex. Ayé tí ò yé wa ni. Ẹgbọ́n nǹkan tí yóò bá pé wọ́n ní àyè kò yé wa. nǹkan tó sì lè jẹ́ ká mórí bọ́ ká láyọ̀ òun náà ni ká nígbà pàpà ọba tó mọ̀ tó ní kápá lórí gbogbo nǹkan tó dáa. ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kejì nìyẹn a ní láti nímọ̀ ẹ̀ a sì ní láti mọ̀ nípa àkọọ́lẹ̀ pé àkọọ́lẹ̀ ó ti dúró. ọlọ́run bá lékè ọlá ó ní alam ta'lamu anna Allah ya'lamu ma fi as-sama'i wal ard inna dhalika fi kitabin inna dhalika ala Allahi yasir. ọlọ́run ni ẹ lọ́ mọ̀ o àbẹ́ ẹ̀mọ́ ni pé ọlọ́run ó mọ gbogbo nǹkan tí ń bẹ lókè sánmọ̀ àtilẹ̀ gbogbo ẹ̀ ló sì ń bẹ nínú Lahu Mahfuz. eléyìí sì rọrùn fọ́lọ́run láti ṣe o. tó bá rọrùn fọ́mọ èdè èèyàn láti maintain database tó wà lórí Google lórí internet lénìí ẹ máa search a word kan within few minutes or seconds á dẹ̀ gbé information jáde from different sources. ẹ wo AI tá ń lò lẹ́yìn tó bá rọrùn fún ọmọ èdè èèyàn lásán lásán tí ò já mọ́ nǹkan kan tó máa sùn tí ò ní jí tẹ́bí ń pa tí bànújẹ́ ń dé bá tó bá rọrùn fún láti ṣe báwo ni ò ṣe rọrùn fọba tó dá ẹgbẹẹgbẹ̀rún tí ò lóǹkà irú ọmọ èdè èèyàn bẹ́ẹ̀ báwo ni ò ṣe rọrùn fọ́lọ́run. If Google, Oracle, Microsoft can do what they are doing with data today, báwo lẹ ṣe rò pé ọlọ́run ò lè lákòójọ ìṣẹ̀mí wa àlámọ̀rí wa báwo lẹ ṣe rò pé ọlọ́run ò lè lákòójọ ẹ̀. ẹ wo gbogbo àtàwà láàyè ẹ wo bá ṣe wà in different locations ta sì ń wora wa bí ẹni pé àjọ wà láàyè kan náà ni. tó bá ń rọrùn fọmọ èdè èèyàn láti ṣe léyìí báwo lẹ ṣe rò pé ọlọ́run ò lè ṣe tó jù lọ lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́gbẹ̀rún ọ̀nà. ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kẹta ní ìpele ìgbàgbọ́ nínú kádàrá òun náà ní ká mọ̀ pé ìfẹ́ tọlọ́run ló máa borí. kò sọ́nà àbáyọ kò sábùjá kankan nínú ọ̀rọ̀ náà. ọlọ́run nímọ̀ ẹ̀ ó ń bẹ́nu àkọọ́lẹ̀ bó ṣe kọ́ọ́lẹ̀ yẹn náà ni ó sì rí tí ò ní yí padà. ká gbẹ́bọ jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ ká ṣògùn jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ ká gbẹ́rẹ́ jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ bọ́lọ̀ ń ṣe ní yóò já sí náà ni yóò já sí. ìmọ̀ àwọn kan lè ṣorí ibú látara ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ àwọn kan sì ṣoríire.
ẹ ṣeun imam.
ṣé àsìkò wa ti tó láti stop ni.
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni imam ká lè bá ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn nǹkan tí ẹ sọ náà ni wọ́n tún béèrè nínú ìbéèrè.
inshallah ta'ala àdúpẹ́ ọlọ́run eléyìí tá a sọ ní àsìkò yìí má fi ṣe ìbàlẹ́jọ́ aburú fún wa.
àmì yàrá
ọlọ́run agbọ́gbà má ṣe wá ní adọ́run mọ́tọ́ gbogbo tá a sọ tó gún régé ọlọ́run ọba náà ló ní sísọ. bẹ́ẹ̀ tá a sọ tó kù kí àtò ìyẹn tẹ́lẹ́rán ara ọlọ́run máa ṣe àṣàforíjì fún wa. ọlọ́run jẹ́ kó àtàwọn tá a sọ àtẹ̀yìntẹ́ gbọ́ ọlọ́run jẹ́ kó ṣe kó wa láǹfààní kó má ṣe ìdúgbà jẹ́ ìbàlẹ́jọ́ aburú fún wa bó ṣe wọn kéré mọ́ kó má jẹ́ àwùjáre fún wa láyé ní sáré àti jẹun gbé ní alkiyama. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر لي ولكم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك وأشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك وسبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
الحمد لله رب العالمين. ẹ̀yin èèyàn wa tí ẹ ti ń gbọ́ wa láti nǹkan tó lé ní wákàtí kan ìmáàmù àgbà láti Rhode Island àwọn ni wọ́n wá bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ohun tí àǹfààní tí ń bẹ nínú pé ká gbà kádàrá. àwọn Yorùbá náà máa kọrin pé mo gbà kádàrá tèmi mo gbà bó ti rí o. wọ́n wá ní ó láǹfààní wọ́n sì sọ nǹkan tó ń jẹ́ kádàrá fún wa. A dúpẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run. Níbi tí a dé dúró yìí, àwọn èèyàn ti kọ̀wé láti béèrè ìbéèrè. Nígbà tí mo bá ka ìbéèrè tiwọn tán ní ṣókí, a lọ sọ́dọ̀ àwọn amòye Yorùbá Gbòde. Ìmáàmù àgbà a máa ń ní àwọn amòye mẹ́ta wà lórí ètò yìí tí wọ́n dàbí ọ̀pákùtẹ̀lẹ̀ fún Yorùbá Gbòde. Tán bá béèrè ìbéèrè wọn, a wá ṣe àwọn èèyàn náà ti tò rẹpẹtẹ tí wọ́n fẹ́ béèrè ìbéèrè. Ìbéèrè eléyìí wọ́n kọ ìwé sí wa láti Leeds, London. Wọ́n ní ta ni àwọn mọ̀lẹ́kà, kí sì ni ìbáṣepọ̀ wọn pẹ̀lú Ọlọ́run àtàwọn òjíṣẹ́. Wọ́n wá ní ta ló lágbára jù, ṣé mọ̀lẹ́kà ni àbáwọn òjíṣẹ́ Ọlọ́run. Ìbéèrè wọn mẹ́ta ni, ṣùgbọ́n mo rò pé ká máa mú ní kọ̀ọ̀kan ní ṣókíṣókí kó lè bá a yá. Ìbéèrè pọ̀ o.
So I dúpẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run. Mo rò pé mo mention it briefly in my discussion. Ipe ìránṣẹ́ Ọlọ́run tí kìí ṣe èèyàn làwọn mọ̀láìkà. Wọn kìí ṣe ẹlẹ́ran ara bíi tiwa. Ìṣẹ̀mí tiwọn ó yàtọ̀ sí tiwa. Wọn ò dẹ̀ sí lórílẹ̀ ayé. Ṣùgbọ́n Ọlọ́run á máa rán wọn ṣẹ́. Àwọn ànábì Ọlọ́run, the prophets, àwọn èèyàn ni wọ́n sùn wọ́n jí, àárín wa náà ń gbé. Àwọn Ọlọ́run rán sí wa. Ọlọ́run fáwọn kan tírà, kò fáwọn kan tírà. Àwọn mọ̀láìkà yẹn náà lọ́lọ́run fi àwọn tírà rán. Iṣẹ́ àwọn mọ̀láìkà sì pín yẹ́lẹyẹ̀lẹ. Àwọn kan iṣẹ́ là rán wọn, àwọn kan ìjọsìn náà ń ṣe fọ́lọ́run. Ó jẹ́ bó ṣe jẹ́, Allahu a'lam.
Tó, ẹ ṣeun. Ìbéèrè wọn kejì, wọ́n ní àwọn ti rí pé láàrin àwọn Yorùbá, àwọn tó lówó wọ́n máa ń rán èèyàn lọ sí Mẹ́kà. Wọ́n ní ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn tí wọ́n rán lọ sí Mẹ́kà yìí wọ́n lè mọ́ lówó lọ́wọ́, wọ́n sì lè mọ́ ròǹjẹ jẹ. Wọ́n ní èwo wá ló dáa jù nínú kí wọ́n dá wọn lókòwò àbí kí wọ́n rán wọn ní Mẹ́kà. Wọ́n ní èwo ló dáa jù nínú méjèèjì. Èkíní nù. Èkejì ni pé wọ́n ní Mẹ́kà, ẹni tí wọ́n bá rán ní Mẹ́kà, ṣé òun ló ní ládàá àbí ẹni tó lówó.
So I dúpẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run. Ọlọ́run bá sọ ẹni tó béèrè náà lẹ́sàn-án rẹ̀. Ayé iṣẹ́ oníládá ayé ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ ná ní nínú ẹ̀sìn wa. Ládá kákírun ọ̀tọ̀ ni, a lè fi wé ládá ájì. Ládá kágbàwẹ̀ ọ̀tọ̀ ni, a lè fi wé ládá sàká. Olúkálùkù ẹ̀ ló láàyè. Ṣùgbọ́n àwa la máa wò ó nínú ìgbékalẹ̀ wa. Tẹ́ bá wo bí tọ́lọ̀ ń gbé ájì gan sí, ó ní limanista tó ilé ìsẹ̀bìl fún ẹni tó bá ní kápá láti lọ ṣe ájì. Ájì ò dọ̀ràn ọyàn fún gbogbo wa, ẹni tó bá ní kápá ni. Ìkápá yẹn ó lè wá máa jẹ́ látọ̀dọ̀ tiẹ̀. Ó lè jẹ́ pé látọ̀dọ̀ ẹni tó wò ó ló pé tọ̀ mo lóore tí mo fẹ́ ṣèyàn. Ta ló tọ́ sí nínú àwọn tó wà láwùjọ yìí, ẹni tó tọ́ sí rèé. So olúkálùkù ló máa wò ẹni tó fẹ́ ṣe. Tẹ́ bá tún wo bí a ṣe ṣe títù ẹ̀. Ọlọ́run fẹ́ ká bójú tó ìjẹ̀mú àwọn èèyàn ní sàkání wa. Ṣùgbọ́n ìyẹn ò túmọ̀ sí wípé káwá sọ pé torí bí ebi ń pa àwọn èèyàn a gbọ́dọ̀ lọ sí ájìmọ́, a gbọ́dọ̀ lọ sí múra, ọ̀rọ̀ gbọ́dọ̀ rí bẹ́ẹ̀. Ayé ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀, ládà ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ ni ó máa gbà. Tó bá rọrùn fún ẹ láti ṣe, èyí tó bá rọrùn fún ẹ ni kó ṣe. Tó bá lọ́tọ̀kùn ẹ láti ṣe, òun náà ni kó ṣe. A lè jẹ́ kíkan dìkan lọ́wọ́. Allahu a'lam. Mo rò kí a mú dáhùn béèrè náà. Ẹ ti wà mí tẹ̀lé àgbọ́yé o.
Ìbéèrè wọn kẹta tí ó parí ìbéèrè láti ọ̀dọ̀ ìyáàfin Aisha yìí. Wọ́n ní ṣé kádàrá ṣe é yí padà téèyàn bá yan kádàrá burúkú? Báwo ni ó ṣe mọ̀ pé kádàrá lòun yàn tó burú, só sì ṣe é yí padà?
So alhamdulillah, gẹ́gẹ́ bá yẹ sọ pé àwa kọ́ la yàn án, wọ́n kọ́ mọ́ wa ni. Wọ́n tá a bá fẹ́ àyípadà ẹ̀, ọba tó kọ́ náà lá máa bẹ̀. Tá a bá ti ń ṣe ẹ̀mí tó àwọn pé ibi tó yí ìgbésí ayé ń dojúkọ yìí kò tẹ́ wa lọ́rùn, a máa bẹ Ọlọ́run ni pẹ̀lú àwọn nǹkan tọ́lọ́run júwe ká fi máa bẹ̀ òun. yàtọ̀ sí pé káwa aláwa gbé nǹkan míì ká máa fi bẹ Ọlọ́run àbí ká máa wò pé yẹn ní òyí kádàrá wa padà o a sì lè mọ̀ tó jẹ́ kádàrá wa àbí tá a bá ṣiṣẹ́ àfààfààfà débì kan gbogbo ẹgbẹ́ ló dẹ̀dẹ̀ ṣe ìgbọ́n kan náà lájọ ṣe àṣe báwo tí ń ṣe wá rí bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n tá a bá tún wò bá ṣe ń wò yẹn náà tá a bá wo àwọn nǹkan míì náà táwa ń ṣe rọrùn tó nira fẹ́ gbẹ́ ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ gbà ibi tó bá nira fún wa nìkan la máa ń dojú kọ kì í wo ibi tọ́lọ́run ti ṣe rọrùn fún wa Ọlọ́run dẹ̀ sọ pé fa inna ma'al usri yusra pẹ̀lú ìnira ìdẹ̀ra wà láàyè mi ó ní ba'da al-usri yusra ó ní lẹ́yìn ìnira ìdẹ̀kùn tún ń bọ̀ tó ní ara nǹkan tí ká ní kádàrá ní láti gbé fúyẹ́ fún wa náà nìyẹn ká má máa wò pé àfẹ́rẹ́ mi nìkan ìbànújẹ́ ń dé bá èmi nìkan ó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ sáwọn ẹlòmíì máa retí jọ́ tí dáadáa náà ń padà bọ̀ wá kàn wọ́ tẹpamọ́ jọ́sìn tẹpamọ́ ìbẹ́lọ́hún tẹpamọ́ ìṣe dáadáa tẹpamọ́ ìṣojú àánú fáwọn ẹ̀dá Ọlọ́run kí kádàrá náà kó lè gbà wájú fún wa ní dáadáa.
ẹ ṣeun ìwé eléyìí wá láti wọ́n ní Fatimata wọ́n ní àwọn wà lórí YouTube báyìí àwọn ń gbọ́ wọ́n ní ṣùgbọ́n àwọn ò ní àǹfààní láti béèrè ni àwọn ṣe fi ránṣẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni à ń ṣe kóríyá fún àwọn orí YouTube a mọ̀ pé ẹ lè sọ̀rọ̀ ṣùgbọ́n inú mi dùn pé ẹ fìwé ránṣẹ́ wọ́n ní orúkọ àwọn ní Fatimata láti Sao Paulo ní Brazil wọ́n ní kí ni dé tó jẹ́ wípé àwọn ẹni ibi máa ń ṣe dáadáa láyé tí ẹni eré sì lè mọ̀ ṣe dáadáa wọ́n ní kí ni dé tí Ọlọ́run fi fún àwọn ìkà láǹfààní láti máa ṣe ìkà wọ́n ní fún àpẹẹrẹ wọ́n ní àwọn àjọmọ̀gbé ní ilẹ̀ Nàìjíríà wọ́n ní ṣé ìsìláàmù ni wọ́n ń ṣe torí pé tí wọ́n bá pa àwọn èèyàn nígbà míì wọ́n ní wọ́n á tún pariwo pé Allahu Akbar wọ́n ní kí ló dé tí Ọlọ́run ń wò wọ́n láti ọ̀dọ̀ Fatimata ní Brazil.
tọ́ Ọlọ́run kó bá wa san oníbèrè yẹn náà ní ẹ̀san rẹ̀ a máa dá làákàyè láàmú ṣùgbọ́n ara nǹkan tá à ń sọ náà nìyẹn pé ká gbà kádàrá àti tó dáa àti tí ò dáa kí ló dé tá a ṣe ní láti gbà káwo Ànábì Musa alayhi salatu wassalam nínú ìtàn ẹ̀ nígbà tí nínú Suratul Kahf tóun náà wá ìmọ̀ lọ tárákùnrin kan tó ní kó má béèrè torí àsìkò ká gé kúkùkù pé kó má béèrè pé lágbájá yìí wọn ṣe wá lóore ìwọ ṣe wá ń ṣe wọn lóore ó pa ọmọ kan náà ọdún kí ni wọ́n tó yẹ pààyàn ká pa ẹ wo nǹkan tí Musa ò mọ̀ bó ṣe jẹ́ ànábì Ọlọ́run tó ń dá ńlá káyè pé ọmọ kan ọmọ pa kí ni èsì tí ó padà wá fi kọ ní pé àìmápa ẹ̀ aburú tó máa ṣe lọ́jọ́ iwájú ó ju aburú tóun ṣe yìí nísìnyí lọ. tá bá wo ogun tó ṣẹlẹ̀ ní Palestine lénìí a wò pé kí lóore tọ́lọ́ ṣe ń gba àwọn kan láàyè láti pọ̀ ọmọ kékeré pàgbàlagbà ó máa dá làákàyè láàmú ṣùgbọ́n tá bá tún wo ẹ̀yìn wò ẹ wo àwọn Bani Israel nígbà tán wà nígboro Misra tí Fáráò tó ń fìyà jẹ wọ́n tó pa àwọn kan bí ọmọ oríṣiríṣi tóun náà ṣe fún wọn tó hàn wọ́n lè mọ̀ ẹ wò ìtọ́lọ̀ padà wá ṣe fún wọn látara Musa alayhi salatu wassalam níwọ̀n ìgbà tá a bá túmọ̀ pé Ọlọ́run ló ní àkóso tiwa ní wípé let us be focused on righteousness by ourselves and enjoying it on others that we have influence over. Àwọn kọ́kọ́ wà ó kọjá ìkápá ọmọ ẹ̀dá èèyàn ṣùgbọ́n Ọlọ́run ò ṣe lásán ó ó nídìí ṣùgbọ́n torí àìmọ̀kan wa yẹn náà ni ó ṣe máa da làákàyè wa láàmú òun náà la ṣe gbé sí abẹ́ ìgbàgbọ́ ìgbàgbọ́ ló máa jẹ́ kó fúyẹ́ lẹ́mìí wa bí gbàgbọ́ yẹn bá dẹ̀ ṣe ń dàgbà sí náà lọ́lọ́run máa fún wa ní ló máa tàn mọ́lẹ̀ táwọn nǹkan tó ṣókùnkùn sí wa yẹn Allahu ta'ala a'lam.
apá ibi tí ó béèrè gbẹ̀yìn pé àwọn tí wọ́n ń pààyàn tí wọ́n á tún sọ wípé Allahu Akbar wọ́n ní ṣé ẹ̀sìn Islam náà ni wọ́n ń ṣe.
ìyẹn ò lè jẹ́ ẹ̀sìn Islam gbogbo aláburú ló máa wá nǹkan tó máa fi justify aburú ẹ̀ ìyẹn ò sọ di kò sọ aburú yẹn di dáadáa torí pé òun sọ fún wa pé dáadáa ni. àwọn dókítà tó ń fi mẹ́tì wọn tó fi ń ṣe iṣẹ́ ìbàjẹ́ wà tí báwọn kan ló lọ harvest kidney oní kidney kí la yìí ń pè wọ́n dókítà náà là ń pè wọ́n. bá a ṣe rí bad people náà la ní bad Muslims ìyẹn ò túmọ̀ sí pé Islam ni ò dáa. bá a ṣe ní good student la ní bad student ìyẹn ò mean pé school ni ò dáa àbí education ni ò dáa. It is the individual personality that is engaged in that system that is bad, and oftentimes they exploit the system and still call it the system.
ẹ ṣeun ẹni àkọ́kọ́ tí wọ́n mú lórí afọ́nrán yìí máàmá wọn ní our chief wise man bàbá amòye Yorùbá gbòde àwọn ní Professor Adéníran Adébóyè tí wọ́n ti ṣe olórí fún ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ẹgbẹ́ ọmọ Yorùbá káàkiri láàrin wa. Bàbá ẹ ti wà lójú ọpọ́n láti béèrè ìbéèrè yín lọ́wọ́ imam.
Mo kí imam pé wọ́n kú iṣẹ́ o.
Ẹ ṣeun sá.
Kí Ọlọ́run ó ṣẹ̀san rere fún wọn. Kò yẹ kí n ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tún wọ́n wàásù pé Yorùbá gbòde ó wà ń bẹ̀ ká dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ olóòtú wa pé wọ́n gbé ètò yìí kalẹ̀. Ìdí ẹ̀ tí wọ́n fi gbé kalẹ̀ ni ìdánilẹ́kọ̀ọ́ fún gbogbo ọmọ káàárọ̀ òjíire nílẹ̀ káàárọ̀ òjíire. Ó ní nǹkan tá a máa ń ṣe tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ tá a sì ṣe títí dìsìn ṣùgbọ́n ẹ̀sìn mùsùlùmí ó wá bá wa ẹ̀sìn kiriyó ó wá bá wa kódà mo tún gbọ́ pé maharaji ti dọ́dọ̀ wa nísìn. So Yorùbá wa jẹ́ bó ti jẹ́ ká kóra wa mọ́ra ká wá túmọ̀ nǹkan tí ó ẹ̀sẹ̀ dé. Ká wá ìta lè mọ̀ ìta lè pè lódodo ká dìmú. So inú mi dùn pé àwọn ìmáàmù wá sí ọ̀dọ̀ wa wọ́n ṣe máa ń wá lásìkò yìí tí wọ́n bá wa ṣe ìtumọ̀ oríṣiríṣi kan tí ò yé gbogbo wa ó lè yé mùsùlùmí láàrin wa ọ̀bọ̀ gbogbo wa la fẹ́ kí nǹkan ó yé ká lè bá àjọ fọwọ́sowọ́pọ̀ ṣe nǹkan tá a bá fẹ́ ṣe. Ṣé ìwàásù yẹn dáa?
Ó gbọ́ yíyé sà. Àgbọ́yé.
Lọ́sẹ̀ tó kọjá ni nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀ lọ́sẹ̀ tó kọjá èyí tó ṣẹlẹ̀ lónìí wọ́n so mọ́ra wọn. Ìmáàmù ọ̀sẹ̀ tó kọjá ọ̀rọ̀ àlá ni wọ́n fi yé wa pé Ọlọ́run máa ń fi ó máa ń kọ́ èèyàn nǹkan tó yẹ kó ṣe ní ó fi àlá ó fi kọ́ wa. Wọ́n ní bàlá bá dáa ká dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run ká sì sọ fáwọn ọmọnìkejì wa tí àlá ò bá dáa kí a mú mọ́ra ká gbàdúrà kí nǹkan tí ó dàbí gbà kó ń bọ̀ kó má ṣẹlẹ̀. Ọ̀rọ̀ àlá nìyẹn o.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
Ṣùgbọ́n kí wọ́n tó ó dàbí gbà pé mo gbọ́ pé wọ́n sọ pé ẹ̀sìn mùsùlùmí nìkan ló wà fún gbogbo àgbáyé pa ẹ̀sìn yòókù orílẹ̀-èdè kọ̀ọ̀kan ni wọ́n wà fún bíi Judaism ṣe wà fún Jew bí Christianity ṣe wà fún. So ìyẹn ni mo fẹ́ béèrè lọ́wọ́ wọn ní ọ̀sẹ̀ tó kọjá ṣùgbọ́n kò sáàyè torí wọ́n ń lọ síbì kan. Olóòtú wa sọ fún wa pé ẹ̀yin ń bọ̀ lórí pé ẹlòmíì ń bọ̀ ní ọ̀sẹ̀ yìí. Ìgbà tẹ́ wá dé ibi tí ẹ bọ́rọ̀ lọ ó so wọ́n pọ̀ mọ́ra wọn. Ọlọ́run àǹfààní tí Ọlọ́run fún wa lónìí. Mo fẹ́ kí ìgbà tí wọ́n sọ pé ẹ̀sìn mùsùlùmí nìkan ló wà fún gbogbo ayé pé àwọn ẹ̀sìn yòókù sections wọ́n wà fún. Ó dàbí ìgbà pé yẹn tako nǹkan tí mo kọ́ gbà tí wọ́n kékeré torí ọmọ onígbàgbọ́ ọmọ oní ẹ̀sìn kiriyó ni mí, ọmọ onífá ni mí. Gbogbo ìdajì ìdílé mi sì wẹ̀ mùsùlùmí ni wọ́n. Tẹ́yìn bá wo ìṣe àwọn apọ́sítélì, tẹ́yìn bá wo ìwé ìhìnrere Lúùkù orí kejì ẹsẹ̀ kọkàndínlọ́gbọ̀n títí dé ẹsẹ̀ kejìdínlọ́gbọ̀n, ìgbà tí wọ́n fẹ́ ṣe tá a lè pè ní ìsàmì fún Jésù nígbà tó pọ́ ọjọ́ mẹ́jọ. Ẹni tó ṣe ìsàmì yẹn Simeon arúgbó ni wọ́n ń porúkọ ẹ̀, Simeon the aged. Òun ló wá kọ orin tó kọ làwọn onígbàgbọ́ wọ́n fi ṣe kínní ní lọ́sọ̀ọ̀sẹ̀ tó ń pè ní knock the meeting. Ibẹ̀ ló ti fi yé àwọn tó wà ní ìjọ yẹn níjọ́gbà tí Jésù jẹ́ ọmọ ọjọ́ mẹ́jọ tí ò tí ì lè sọ̀rọ̀ pé gbogbo ayé ni Jésù wà fún. So a lè sọ pé Christianity o gẹ́gẹ́ báwọn ṣe rí kò sójú mi o kò tí wọ́n kọ sínú Bíbélì ó fi hàn pé ẹ̀sìn tí ó máa tìpasẹ̀ Jésù yọ kì í ṣẹ̀sìn Júù kì í ṣẹ̀sìn anybody, ẹ̀sìn gbogbo ilé ayé ni wọ́n kà sí ni wọ́n rò pé máa jẹ́. Luke chapter 2 verses 29 to 33. Now lettest thy servant depart in peace, Lord, according to thy word. Ó ṣàparí ẹ̀ sí pé it's a glory of Israel and a light to the Gentiles. So mo fi yẹn sí semicolon. Tẹ́yìn bá bọ́ sórí àlá, Símónì Pétérù, Acts of Apostles chapter 10. Cornelius centurion ránṣẹ́ sí pé kó wá sọ́dọ̀ òun kó níṣẹ́ bẹ̀. Ebi ń pa Pétérù. Ó wá lálàá kíní kan bọ̀ látòrí ọ̀run tó tí oríṣiríṣi oúnjẹ wà ń bẹ̀, ẹranko tó lè pẹ́ wà ń bẹ̀. Chapter 10 verse 13. Ohun kan dé látọ̀run ó ní kill and eat. Nígbà ebi ń pa ọ́ nǹkan tí mo sọ kalẹ̀ yìí kill and eat. Pétérù wá dáhùn ó ní ìwọ Ọlọ́run mọ̀ pé mi ò lè jẹ nǹkan tí ò mọ́. Ṣé ń gbọ́ mi sà?
Àgbọ́yé sà.
Gbogbo wa là ń gbọ́ bàbá.
Ọlọ́run á sọ fún pé kí ló ṣe ọ́ tí ò ṣe yàn rí nǹkan tẹ́yìn bá sọ pé ó mọ́ ẹ̀ẹ̀mẹ́ta ni kí ni yẹn ṣẹlẹ̀. Pétérù wá ń wá díẹ̀ tí Ọlọ́run fi sọ̀rọ̀ nǹkan báwọn ẹ̀ fóun. Ó wá di pé ń bọ̀ pẹ́ díẹ̀ wọ́n ní àwọn centurion ránṣẹ́ sí Pétérù bí tó dé sí pé kó wá bá Cornelius. Ìgbà tó lọ bá Cornelius wá ń sọ fún un pé àfi bó ṣe lálàá báyìí o kí ní kan ṣe ẹ̀ ń pàkọ́ o. Anyway, ibi tí mò ń bá ọ̀rọ̀ lọ ni pé 34 to 35 verse 34 to 35 of Acts chapter 10 iṣẹ́ àwọn apostoli orí kẹwàá. Ọlọ́run wá fi yé wọn pé gbogbo ilé ayé pátápátá pé kì í ṣe ẹ̀sìn Jésù kì í ṣe ẹ̀sìn Júù kì í ṣe ẹ̀sìn Gentile ẹ̀sìn gbogbo ayé pátápátá nǹkan tó ń ti sọ pé you must evangelize everywhere. So ọ̀rọ̀ àlá nìyẹn bí àwọn onígbàgbọ́ bí àwọn Bíbélì ṣe túmọ̀ ìtumọ̀ sọ yẹn. Ibo ni mo ń gbé gbogbo eléyìí lọ? Mo fẹ́ kí n béèrè pé ọ̀rọ̀ àyànmọ́ ó bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe sọ pé ó wà ní ẹ̀sìn Yorùbá ẹ̀sìn àdáyébá Yorùbá bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ló wà nínú ẹ̀sìn Islam tá ń pè ní kádàrá ẹ̀sìn sọ pé yẹn yàtọ̀ sí àkúnlẹ̀yàn. Èmi ò wá rí àtàkúnlẹ̀yàn ní o àti àyànmọ́ ní o tí wọ́n bá bí wa kì í mọ báwa la yan nǹkan ni àbẹ́rẹ́ wọ́n yàn fún wa ni àbí báwo a kì í mọ̀ torí nígbà tá a tiẹ̀ ń bọ̀ bóyá a lè sọ̀rọ̀ a lè mí ipá la fi mí ó wá ní ìdìbéèrè gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìtàn ìwọ̀nba ìtàn ayé tá a ti rí tábà tiẹ̀ ní ká lọ sí bíi AD 800 ká dúró mbẹ̀ yẹn from AD a lè bẹ̀rẹ̀ 711 but láti ìgbà yẹn ní East Africa ó ní àwọn Arabs ni wọ́n ti ń lọ sí East Coast of Africa tó ń kó àwọn èèyàn wa lẹ́rú. Zanj ní nǹkan tó ń pè ní Zanj the East Coast of Africa ibi tó bá Zanzibar Tanganyika tí wọ́n pè ní island kan ní Zanzibar lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ tí gbogbo ẹ̀ fi di Tanzania ibi tí wọ́n ti ń kó àwọn èèyàn wa lẹ́rú nìyẹn tí wọ́n ń lọ sí the port of Basra ní Iraq for the past 1400 years irú ẹ̀ ti ń ṣẹlẹ̀ sáwọn èèyàn wa òun ló tàn lọ sí North Africa tẹ́ fi ní Maghreb Arabs òun ló tàn wá sí West Africa tá a fi ń kọlà ṣáàyàn ni àbí wọ́n yàn mọ́ wa ni àbọ̀ Ọlọ́run fẹ́ràn àwọn kan jà àwọn kan lọ tó fi jẹ́ pé ntọ́ yàn fún wọn ó jẹ́ bí ìlọsíwájú fún wọn ntọ́ yàn fún wa ó jẹ́ bí ẹrú ẹ bá wa ṣàlàyé yẹn fún.
ẹ ṣeun sáré ti gúnlẹ̀.
ó ti gúnlẹ̀.
tọ́ ọlọ́run kó wa dúpẹ́ fún yín ọ̀rọ̀ yìí kò lọ títí ọlọ́run ti ní òun ò ní yí àlámọ̀rí àwọn ìjọ kan padà ìmà tó bá ń bẹ jẹ́ wọ́n ń bẹ ní ààyè rọrùn òun ò ní yí padà sí ìnira àyàfi tó bá yí nǹkan tó wà lẹ́nu wọn padà gẹ́gẹ́ bí àlàyé tá a ṣe pé àyànmọ́ àmọ́ ṣùgbọ́n a ní láti máa yẹ iṣẹ́ ọwọ́ wa wò ṣé iṣẹ́ ọwọ́ wa ó ń gbé wa lọ àbó ń tọ́ka lọ síbi tí a ti máa rí nǹkan tọ́lọ́run fẹ́ kó rọrùn fún wa ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ gbà a máa ń sọ pé wọ́n kó wa lẹ́rú lẹ̀ Yorùbá ṣùgbọ́n àsọdódó bẹ́ẹ̀ àwọn olóyè wa àwọn ọba wa náà wọ́n pẹ̀ láwọn tó pàdé àpò mọ́ wọn láti tà wá. ẹjẹ ń gúnlẹ̀ sà wọ́n ní tí kúlé ò bá pa ni tòde ò lè pa ni. Oftentimes we blame outsiders for our predicament without looking at what we did to ourselves. What we did to ourselves la ní láti kọ́kọ́ ṣàtúnṣe. Ó lè ta ò lè jà tí ò bá sí olùrànwọ́ lọ́wọ́ nínú ilé. Wọ́n ní tó gírí ò bá lanu aláǹgbá ò lè rí bẹ́ẹ̀. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nǹkan tó yìn bá wa jáde ní ìyẹn tá a ṣe sí kúrò. America don't blame outsiders for their problem. They fix their problem. We need to fix our own. A ní láti jẹ́ ọmọlúàbí, a ní láti hùwà ẹ̀tọ́ síra wa. Eléyìí kò ní ṣe pẹ̀lú ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀sìn, ọ̀rọ̀ làákàyè ni. Àwọn madam ẹkú ṣetán aníwúrà gbogbo wọn owó ẹrú kọ́ la mọ̀ wọ́n sí láti ṣe ni. Àwọn ológun wa ló máa lọ fogun kó àwọn villages kọ́ tó tà wá sóko ẹrú. Àwọn ló gbẹ̀bọ̀dé látọ̀dọ̀ òyìnbó. Wọn ò dédé jà wá lólè àwa fúnra wa láti ṣàìdá pẹ̀lú àwọn èèyàn wa. Ibi tèmi ti orí sí nìyẹn. Ṣùgbọ́n èyí tèmi bá wá bíbá ìkọ́lé ní nìyẹn. Ìtọ́jú ni pé kí ni àǹfààní kádàrá nínú gbàgbọ́ wa. Ọlọ́run ló ní kádàrá, àwọn ò sí mọ́ kádàrá tọ́lọ́run kọ. Ṣùgbọ́n tiwa ni pé ká máa ṣiṣẹ́ dáadáa tó máa fà wá ní fọkànbalẹ̀, tó máa fún àyíká wa ń fọkànbalẹ̀, tó máa fáwọn alábàágbé wa ń fọkànbalẹ̀, tó máa fáwọn èèyàn wa ń fọkànbalẹ̀. Níwọ̀n ìgbà tí mùsùlùmí bá ti ń gbìyànjú yẹn, ayé tiẹ̀ náà arojú aráyè.
Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ sà, nǹkan so mọ́ra wọn, nǹkan so mọ́ra wọn. Ọ̀rọ̀ kádàrá náà ló gbé wa débi ìbéèrè tí mo béèrè yẹn. Ṣùgbọ́n ìtàn tí àwọn èèyàn kọ sílẹ̀, táwọn mùsùlùmí kọ sílẹ̀, táwọn kìrìyó kọ sílẹ̀, ó fi hàn pé ẹni tó bá sọ wọ́n dolórí burúkú náà ní fi bú wọn. Ẹ jẹ́ ká lọ sídìí, ẹ jẹ́ ká ti di pẹlẹbẹ.
Tí àwọn kan bá kọ tiwọn, káwa náà ká kọ tiwa.
Ẹ jẹ́ ká ti di pẹlẹbẹ náà lè jẹ.
Ọ̀rọ̀ tó kúyẹ́ ni a ní láti fà á, ẹ má bínú torí tọ́lọ́run. Inú àwẹ̀ la wà, a ní láti fà á. Tí ò bá rí bẹ́ẹ̀, káwa náà mú ẹ̀rí, ká kọ tiwa bó ṣe rí.
Agbára ni.
Tí gbogbo àjọ fi làákàyè pé èwo ló nítumọ̀, èwo ló bá sáà mu, èwo ló bá làákàyè mu nínú ìtàn méjèèjì.
Títẹ́ mi ò fi wọ́n wéra wọn. Mi ò fi wọ́n wéra wọn. Yorùbá ni mo dúró fún, èèyàn dúdú ni mo dúró fún, mi ò fi Islam wé Christianity.
Ọlọ́run tó dá wa ń dúdú, ó ní nǹkan tó gbà lérò kó tó dá wa ń dúdú.
Ẹ jẹ́ kí n jálẹ̀.
Ìyànṣẹ́ rẹ̀ ń jàǹbá ni.
Bóyá ká jẹ́ kí bàbá parí ẹ̀ ká lè mú ẹlòmíì.
Ẹ jẹ́ kí n jálẹ̀. Lórí tí nǹkan tá à ń ṣe lórí Yorùbá Gbòde, ká fi ọ̀rọ̀ wé ọ̀rọ̀, ká fi yéra wa. Orí Yorùbá Gbòde wà fún, kì í ṣe ká jiyàn títí. Ìdí ẹ̀ tí mo fi gbọ́dọ̀ sọ yìí tí mò ń sọ yìí tó rà tí ń sọ ti pẹ́. Ìkọ́nilẹ́rú, the man with the gun is the majority. Ọ̀rọ̀ pé ẹ fún ṣètà àníṣe wúrà ó ṣe gbá ọ̀ṣà wo wọ́n kó tó da fún ṣètàn kí fún ṣètàn tó débẹ̀ kí ló fà á. Ẹ rántí pé from 1492 nígbà tí àwọn òyìnbó lé àwọn tí wọ́n ti jàmbá lórí wọn for 700 years wọ́n lé wọn padà. Àwọn náà wá ń wábi táwọn tí wọ́n ti máa kọ́ ẹrú tí wọ́n ti máa dé India bí wọ́n ṣe dọ́dọ̀ wa nìyẹn. By 1500 àwọn tó bá Christopher Columbus wá sí Amẹ́ríkà wọ́n lé àwọn fẹ́ lọ kó ẹrú ní Áfíríkà. Wọ́n dẹ̀ béèrè lọ́wọ́ the Holy Roman Empire ní Seville ó kó fún wọn láàyè. The man with the gun is the majority. Nǹkan tí wọ́n gbé wá tí wọ́n gbé wá first of all àwọn kìrìó ló fún wọn ní agbára láti lọ kó wa lẹ́rú. Wọ́n dẹ̀ gbébọn fún wọn. Ìgbà tí wọ́n gbébọn fún wọn ṣé Fúnṣetán Adéwọ́rẹ́ ni ó dojúkọ bọ́n. Ìgbà tí wọ́n dé Èkó tí wọ́n dé ní ilé Eléko of Èkó tí wọ́n lá kó ta ẹrú fún wọn tí ò ta tí wọ́n yìnbọn pa ẹranko tó wà lé ewúrẹ́ tó wà lé ẹ̀ ṣé kò ní nígbà kan kí ọmọ ẹ̀ mọ́lẹ̀ pé àwọn ọmọ lọ. Ẹ jẹ́ ká mọ̀ tí nǹkan tí mo sọ yẹn tí ìtàn rẹ̀ bá yé àwọn èèyàn kó lọ yẹ̀ wò bí wọ́n ṣe bẹ̀rẹ̀ báwọn èèyàn wá ṣe bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí participate yẹn wọn ò ní choice.
Ẹ ṣeun bàbá, ẹ ṣeun bàbá. Ní àṣẹ Ọlọ́run lára ètò tí a ṣe sílẹ̀ fún Yorùbá Gbòde tí a ṣe lọ́jọ́ iwájú odidi oṣù kan Sunday 4 tó tẹ̀léra wọn ó ní a fi sọ̀rọ̀ lórí òwò ẹrú ní ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Àwọn historian wa ti jókòó dáadáa. Sunday 4 tó máa tẹ̀léra wọn la máa fi ṣe yóò túbọ̀ yé wa sí. Ẹ dákun ìṣẹ́jú 15 péré ló kù kí Professor Wariboko tí wọ́n máa wọlé. Ẹ jẹ́ á ṣe ìbéèrè ọ̀hún pépèpé ìyàwó bàbá oníṣọ̀nà. Amòye Yorùbá Gbòde a máa ń sábà fún wọn láǹfààní. Bàbá Oyèfúlẹ̀ dókítà ọlọ́pọlọ ẹ ti wà lójú ọpọ́n. Ẹ dákun ẹ jẹ́ á gé pépèpé.
àwọn èèyàn bíi
kámẹ́
mẹ́rin ló
ìlú
ti
ní
náwó sókè
Islam.
látẹ̀kan tẹ́ ẹ̀ recognize.
ẹ ṣe gan olóòtú.
àwọn wo nìyẹn.
olóòtú ẹ ṣe gan nítorí pé a ní àsìkò tó pọ̀ màá yield for the next question.
Okay,
ẹ ṣe gan
ni. So bá ẹjẹ ń wo bá mẹ́tò kí ni ìbéèrè yín. Mo rí pé bàbá Bánkọ́lé amòye ni wọn àwọn náà ti náwó sókè ṣùgbọ́n ẹ dákun ẹ má bínú. Bá mẹ́tò ẹ ṣe pé bí awọ babo oníṣọ̀nà. Bá mẹ́tò.
Hello, ẹ ṣé màmá. Ẹ kú ètò máa. Question mi ṣé ń gbọ́ mà?
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni sà.
Ok, mo kí ìmáàmù wa. First, question tán béèrè pé ta ló ní ládàá mọ́kà? Ẹni tó rán yàn ni àbí ẹni tó lọ ṣiṣẹ́ mọ́kà yẹn? So mo rò bí mi gẹ́ẹ̀tì answer yẹn dáadáa. Ta ló ní ládàá? Kò ládàá wọn, wọ́n ti bóyá ìyẹn náà fi ṣàlàyé pé ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀.
ẹ ṣe wá kíyèsí.
Mo ì ní question ti fẹ́ béèrè lẹ́yìn yẹn tí ò ní ṣe pẹ̀lú.
Go ahead.
Ẹ papọ̀ ní time púpọ̀.
Òun náà mo fẹ́ sọ, mo ní question kejì. Òun náà mo fẹ́ sọ yìí, ẹ jẹ́ n sọ. Question kejì ni pé àwọn tó ń ṣe artificial insemination pé ṣé ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ni fún àwọn tó yẹ pé wọn lè bímọ tán ní kẹ́lòmíì bá wọn bí wọn àbí tó yẹ pé wọ́n gbé oyún sí ẹlòmíì ló báyàn lóyún.
Wọ́n gbé ẹyin ẹlòmíì sí wọn nínú.
Wọ́n gbé ẹyin ẹlòmíì sínú so ṣé ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ni so like ó bá ẹ̀sìn lọ àbí Islamic faith.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
Ok, ẹ ṣeun. Àkọ́kọ́ ẹni tí ó rán yàn lọ sí iṣẹ́ ájì tóun fúnra ẹ̀ bá ti ṣe ájì tí ṣe pé ìdíwọ́ kan àbí àìlera ló fà á tí ò ṣe lè lọ ájì tóun fúnra ẹ̀ ti ṣe ájì àgbàládá ẹni tó rán yàn lọ sí ájì ṣùgbọ́n ẹni tó lọ ṣe ájì àgbàládá pé òun náà ṣiṣẹ́ ájì.
Ok, ẹ ṣé.
Ṣùgbọ́n ẹni tó jẹ́ pé bóyá ìlera kan àbí nǹkan kan òun ló fẹ́ lọ ṣùgbọ́n kò láǹfààní àti lọ because bóyá àlàáfíà ni àbí nǹkan kan ni ó wá rán èèyàn lọ tó nítọ̀hún ò bá ìtí ìṣe ájì rí fúnra ẹ̀ kò gba ládàá ájì o ó lè gba ládàá ẹni tó ṣàránṣe fẹ́yàn láti ṣe ájì tóun náà bá yìí lówó ó yìí jẹ gbèsè ájì tiẹ̀ láti lọ ṣe because ó lọ bá èèyàn ṣe ni. Ìyẹn lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ àfáàṣì máa ń sọ wípé ẹni tó bá fẹ́ báyàn ṣe ájì òun fúnra rẹ̀ ní láti ṣe ájì fúnra ẹ̀ kó tó lè ṣe ájì fúnyàn láti gba ẹ̀san. Question nípa artificial insemination is very simple. Islam ó lòdì sí pé ká gbọ́ ọmọ bà fọ́ṣun. Islam protects lineage. If the semen and the egg is not from those individuals, there is not permitted. But tó bá yẹ pé ọkọ àtìyàwó ni wọ́n ní problem àti conceive, but they can help them conceive with IVF outside the womb and then reimplant it. Ìyẹn wà acceptable. But to get the egg from somebody else and the sperm from somebody else and give it is not permitted in Islam.
Okay, ẹ ṣeun.
Ẹ ṣé, thanks a lot.
Ọ̀túnba Hùsẹ́ẹ̀nì ẹ tètè béèrè ìbéèrè yín àbọ̀ṣẹ́jú lẹ́ní o.
Ẹ ṣé, assalamu alaikum Alhaji ṣàlàfíà lẹ́wà sàn.
Àdúpẹ́. Ẹ béèrè.
Tí èmi fẹ́ sọ ojú pé gbogbo nǹkan kí nǹkan tẹ́ wá sọ àti tí a ti ń sọ àti tí wọ́n máa tún sọ gbogbo ẹ̀ dá lórí ní gẹ́gẹ́ bí ilé ayé ṣe wà ń sìn ó dá pé onígbàgbọ́ ni wá ni gbogbo wa pátápátá àti gbogbo àwọn tó ti kàwé àtàwọn ti kagbá náà ti kàwó onígbàgbọ́ ni wá a nígbàgbọ́ ni because so far so good kò tí ì sí evidence ní pé àwọn sẹ́ẹ̀tì kan kú
kí ni ìbéèrè yín kí ni ìbéèrè yín
ẹ jẹ́ kó jálẹ̀.
ẹ jẹ́ kó gúnlẹ̀.
ìtorí time
torí time ni gẹ́gẹ́ wa ti wọlé for 4 o'clock a gbọ́dọ̀ parí ní 4.
Okay.
ẹ jẹ́ kó gúnlẹ̀ we still have 9 minutes.
Onígbàgbọ́ ni gbogbo wa pátápátá ìyẹn lèmi believe ìyẹn bẹ́ẹ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ wípé tí àwọn kan tí wọ́n rí jẹ tí wọ́n rí mu tí ìjọba wa wà ní ibì kan ìlú wa ní ìlú bòmíì tí wọ́n gbé 5 million owó ìlú yẹn sílẹ̀ pé wọ́n ní káwọn kan lọ fi ṣáàjì bí ó yẹ kí àwọn tó mọ̀ pé táwọn bá dé inú ibi lọ́wọ́ ń bà dé sí yẹn ó yẹ káwọn kankan ní làákàyè kan sọ pé 5 million tí èèyàn bá fi 5 million ṣe àyòmọye mọ́kà tó sì wà lẹ́yìn èèyàn lè fi lọ náà èmi rò pé àwọn méjèèjì wọn balance ẹni tó accept offer yẹn ẹni tó make offer yẹn mi rò kàn gbádùn. So
this question has to do with Nigeria, not with America. American government don't sponsor anybody for Hajj.
Thank you.
We all know that.
Nigeria money fast indirectly.
Yeah. So the problem, sharing problem one in Nigeria, bá ṣe ṣera wa ni, bí a ṣe ṣera wa ni, ojúṣe Nigeria is not to be responsible for people's spirituality, but to give them freedom of religion. It should not be responsible. But àwọn tó ń ràn yàn lọ sí Hajj, wọ́n ti ṣiṣẹ́ ìbò fún wọn, wọ́n wá ń fi yẹn pay wọn báàkì ni. Ètò Nàìjíríà tí ó ló ní wàhálà, kì í ṣẹ̀sìn Islam ló gbé yẹn fún wọn lọ́wọ́. Àwọn náà wò pé kí làwọn lè máa fi tù wọ́n lójú. Òkè kan rán wọn láti lọ sájì, àwọn náà wọ plane lẹ́ẹ̀kan in a lifetime. It's a misplaced priority. It's not justified.
Ẹ ṣe sá final one ẹjọ́ alájà ẹ má bínú mà. Ṣé rí issue àkọlẹ̀ ìgbà tẹ́mi ti gbọ́njú gbára mo ti believe nínú àkọlẹ̀ torí the final result of anything tá a bá ṣe ẹni tí mọ́tò máa pa kò sí ní tẹ́ fẹ́ ṣe sí táyé pé Japan mọ́tò yẹn máa pa nǹkan kan sponsor ẹ̀ lọ sí Japan. Fine tó wá ṣẹlẹ̀ ní Japan ìyẹn ni àkọlẹ̀ so mo agree pẹ̀lú yẹn and then in another 100 years story wípé ohun tí à ń ṣe lénìí gẹ́gẹ́ bí àwọn professor ṣe sọ pé alágbára ló ní agbára nǹkan kan àwọn èèyàn náà máa sọ ní pé not ongoing war tó wà láàrin Hamas àti Israel agbára ní Israel lò fún àwọn PLO àwọn Muslim kankan bẹ́yẹn in another 100 years the same story tí Professor Adéran Adégbóyè sọ yẹn náà òun náà wá sọ pé àwọn alágbára níjọ́ náà lọ́hùn wọn lágbára tí wọ́n fẹ́ extinct àwọn PLO ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́ lọ́yìn sà.
Ẹ ṣé bàbá Bánkọ́lé amòye Yorùbá Gbòde ẹ béèrè ìbéèrè yín ní ṣókí our time is going.
Ẹ ṣé alájà ìmáàmù mo kí yín o a kú ìsinmi òní a kú òǹgbẹ ẹ̀mí ó gba àwẹ̀ náà jà. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ìbéèrè mi ó dá lórí èkíní dá lórí ọ̀rọ̀ ájì ǹjẹ́ criteria wà fún pé ẹni tó máa lọ sí ájì tó ní nǹkan kan tó gbọ́dọ̀ ó ní pé qualification wà kó lè rí ládàá yẹn gbà tó gbọ́dọ̀ mọ ẹ̀sìn tó gbọ́dọ̀ mọ bọ́n ṣe ń kírun tó gbọ́dọ̀ mọ gbogbo nǹkan wọ̀nyí ó gbọ́dọ̀ ó ní nǹkan tó lè ṣe kó tó di fún lọ àkọ́kọ́ nìyẹn ìkejì ni pé gẹ́gẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ṣe sọ àti ń gbọ́ káàkiri ẹ̀sìn Islam ẹ̀sìn àlàáfíà ìgbà táwa dàgbà láàrin ìdílé wa a ní mùsùlùmí a ní olórìṣà a ní gbàgbọ́ Christian a kì í bára wa jà à ń bára wa jẹ à ń bára wa mu ṣùgbọ́n ìgbà tí mo ṣe NYSC ní Nàìjíríà mo bá arákùnrin kan pàdé tó jẹ́ pé ilẹ̀ north ló ti wá Fúlàní ni ọmọ náà ọ̀gbẹ́ni náà ó mọ̀wé dáadáa ó dẹ̀ wà brilliant ó máa ń sọ fún wa pé cup táwa bá fi mu omi gẹ́gẹ́ bí kìrìsìtẹ́nì kò tọ́ sóun láti fi mu omi wọ́n á rò pé kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀ kí ló lè fà á ó ní pé torí pé àwa ò ní gbàgbọ́ infidel ni àwa òun torí náà òun ìbáṣe àwa àti òun ó ní boundaries ní tó máa ń sọ ń gbà yẹn nìyẹn tó mo fẹ́ kẹ́ là mí lóye ṣé lóòótọ́ ni irú nǹkan báyìí bẹ́ẹ̀ mo tún wá ní ìbéèrè kan tó jọmọ́ tí àwọn èèyàn ti sọ ni pé ìjà tó ń lọ lọ́wọ́ ní Gaza lónìí kí ló dé táwọn Arab nations tó sọ̀rọ̀ kí ló dé tí wọ́n gbógun kí ló dé tí ò ta wọn ṣé kò ta wọn lára tó ni àti ṣé kò mú wọn lómi tó ni àbí báwo ló ṣe fà á.
Ẹ ṣeun bàbá Bánkọ́lé ẹ jẹ́ kán dáhùn kán lè tètè kán lè parí àwọn ìbéèrè yín ẹ ṣeun.
Ẹ ṣeun kan ọlọ́kọ̀ bá dúpẹ́ fún yín àkọ́kọ́ ni criteria for Hajj gẹ́gẹ́ bí gbogbo iṣẹ́ ìbádà nínú ẹ̀sìn Islam èèyàn ní láti ní ìgbàgbọ́ iman nínú nǹkan tó fẹ́ ṣe pé ẹ̀san dẹ̀ wà fún kì í ṣiṣẹ́ àṣedànù iṣẹ́ olóore ni ó ní láti ní ìgbàgbọ́ sọba tó pàṣẹ pé ká ṣe ní àkọ́kọ́. Ó ní láti bẹ lára àwọn àṣẹ tọ́lọ́run náà pa náà ni pé kó máa kírun, kó máa gbààwẹ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n ìgbà míì ó lè ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ gba Islam, ó dẹ̀ lówó lọ́wọ́, ìrun ò tí ì dé déédé, ìyẹn ò sọ pé kò lè lọ sí hajj. Ó yẹ pé ìlọ sí hajj ẹ̀yẹn ló máa ṣe okùnfà kó padà wá dé kó máa kírun dáadáa. Tó bá rí àwọn ọ̀pọ̀ ogunlọ́gọ̀ mùsùlùmí tó yẹ pé tọ́jú òun lọ tí wọ́n ní nǹkan tóun ní tọ́sí ẹ̀dájọ́ òun náà lọ́nà táwọn náà yìí kírun fọ́lọ́run, ó lè padà wá ṣe àlékún ìgbàgbọ́ ẹ̀ àti ìtẹramọ́ àwọn ṣe oníládà yòókù. Ṣùgbọ́n gbólóhùn tí alukurani àti ànábì wa Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam ń sọ nípa ẹ̀ náà ni liman istata'a ilayhi sabil. A ní láti ní ìkápá, a ní láti ní àlàáfíà, ọ̀nà ní láti da, jàǹbá ò gbọdọ̀ wà lọ́nà. Ẹ wò gbà COVID, wọ́n stop wa láti lọ sí hajj because the condition is not suitable for it. If there is a epidemic outbreak in your country, you should not go to hajj. Láti má lọ infect other people by going to their midst. You should stay. So gbogbo àwọn eléyìí kì í ṣe nǹkan tá a lè cover in, but what is important is the faith and the means to be able to carry it out. Tàgbàtà dé kéré àgbàlagbà làwọn ọmọ èèyàn máa ń lọ sí hajj torí àti kówó jọ, ṣùgbọ́n Ọlọ́run ti ṣe ń sìn àrísìkì ti pọ̀ lọ́wọ́ àwọn èèyàn. It has nothing to do with age. Àtọmọ kékeré àtàgbàlagbà ló lè lọ sí hajj. Kọ́lọ́n kó ṣe nítẹ̀wọ́ gbà fún gbogbo wa. Nípa ọ̀rọ̀ Christian as infidels, ṣe rí ọ̀rọ̀ gbogbo ẹ̀sìn, àwọn alákatakítí gbogbo ẹ̀sìn ló wà. Kì í ṣe Islam nìkan. Àwọn oní exaggerated piety, àwọn tó mọ̀jọ́ Ọlọ́run lọ. Ìyá èèyàn lè jẹ́ ẹni tí ì ṣe mùsùlùmí. Bàbá èèyàn lè jẹ́ ẹni tí ì ṣe mùsùlùmí, kéèyàn jẹ́ mùsùlùmí. Ojúṣe ẹ ò yí padà sí wọn láti tọ́jú wọn, láti ṣèkẹ́ wọn, láti pọ́n wọn lé. Àwọn ẹ̀gbọ́n àwọn àbúrò ẹ, àwọn alábàágbé ẹ, o ní láti ṣe dáadáa fún wọn. Oúnjẹ lè pa yín pọ̀, ẹ̀sìn ni ò pa yín pọ̀. Lákùndé inú kóm wà lìyẹ̀dín. Tó bá wọn ṣe tí wọ́n lò ní bá wọn ṣe, ìwọ́dọ̀ òdẹ̀ pé wọ́n wá bá ṣe tiẹ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n a lè jọ ṣàlàyé nǹkan tá a jọ ń ṣe fúnra wa. Gẹ́gẹ́ bá ṣe ń ṣe ń sìn pé nǹkan táwa ń ṣe nú ẹ̀sìn wa rèé o. Àwa dẹ̀ rò pé ó nítumọ̀, ó ṣàǹfààní tẹ́ bá bá wa ṣe. Ṣùgbọ́n ìyẹn ò ní ìjẹ́ ọmọ èèyàn ṣáájú kí ìgbàgbọ́ tó tẹ̀lé. Kì í ṣe pé ìgbàgbọ́ ló ṣáájú kí ìjẹ́ ọmọ èèyàn tó tẹ̀lé. We are all humans first because before our beliefs, and our beliefs should not put us at war with each other. Those are the questions.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
Anyone?
The last question tí wọ́n béèrè ni ẹ béèrè last question kan nípa àwọn Palestinian ìjà ní.
Yes, Palestine and Gaza. It's other country. That is political. It has nothing to do with religion. And about what is going on in Gaza today, unfortunately, àwọn Christians and some other people on side with Jews is an humanitarian problem. It's a humanitarian crisis. Just like Bashiri àwọn Mùsùlùmí kan náà tó yẹ pé ìgbà tán bá rí tí wọ́n ń fìyà jẹ àwọn tí ì ṣe Mùsùlùmí àdásí. Al-Qur'an sọ fún wa ó ní ìdílù huwa aqrabu taqwa, ìmáa ṣe déédéé láàrin àwọn èèyàn. Ó súnmọ́ pẹ́kíkẹ́kí mọ́ ìgbàgbọ́. Kọ́tà gbogbo wa ní láti mọ̀ ní pé what is going on in Gaza today is apartheid. And if anybody recognizes apartheid, South Africa recognizes apartheid because they lead through it. And if they are telling the world what is going there is apartheid, we need to accept it and believe it. And that's why they stand strong with them. Arab countries who are support on the basis of ẹ̀sìn. Àrísọ, but ẹ wá wò on the basis of ẹ̀sìn gan wọn support wọn. Ṣùgbọ́n nǹkan táwa ń sọ ni pé what is going on there? If the same America táwa ìtàn sọ pé what is going on in Russia and Ukraine is wrong, they should equally speak out that what is going on in Gaza between the Palestinians is wrong. It's inhumanity to humans. Nǹkan tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ nìyẹn, and anywhere, it doesn't matter ẹ̀sìn tó táwọn tó jẹ́ victim jẹ́, we need to speak out against it. Allah Allah. Àìmásọ kò justify yìí wípé bóyá Mùsùlùmí. Just like I said, we have bad people, bad Muslims, bad Christians, bad anything. Bad scholars, bad anything. Just like we have good ones. Allah Allah.
Thank you so much. Adele Olóòtú Alàgbà Akíngbadé, ẹ máa foríjì mí. Ẹ̀yin ni wọ́n kọ́kọ́ pè níjọ́ mẹ́jọ, ẹ dákun ẹ fi ìbéèrè yín pamọ́ díjọ́ mẹ́jọ. Torí pé àlejò wa fún abala kejì wọ́n ti wà nílẹ̀. Professor Boko Isaiah Arando. So let's wrap this up. Thank you so much for understanding. So, Imam Àgbà, mo dúpẹ́ púpọ̀ lọ́wọ́ yín fún ọgbọ́n àti òye tí ẹ fi ṣe àlàyé fún wa lónìí, tí ẹ fi fún wa ní ìdánilẹ́kọ̀ọ́. Àdúrà mi ni pé Ọlọ́run ọba nínú àánú ẹ̀ yóò san yín ní ẹ̀san rere, ẹ bá níbi tó ti lérè. Bákan náà ni mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àwọn tí wọ́n ṣe sponsor àwọn onígbọ̀wọ́ ètò yìí lónìí. NCNMO ìjọ alálùbáríkà ni mo bẹ̀rẹ̀ látòrí àṣúrà board wọn tó fi dé executive, tó fi dé gbogbo àwọn àfáà tí ń bẹ nínú ìjọ àti gbogbo àwọn ẹnìkọ̀ọ̀kan tó dáwó láti máa ṣe ètò ní lárugẹ láti nǹkan bí ọdún 10. Kò ní rẹ̀ yín, kò ní sú yín pẹ̀lú ògo Ọlọ́run. Ọlọ́run á jẹ́ kí gbogbo yín bá ibi tó ti lérè. Mi ò lè ṣe kí má rántí àwọn ìyá wa ní Ìbàdàn tí wọ́n pawọ́pọ̀ tí wọ́n dá Ìsàbátùdín sílẹ̀. Àwọn ìyá wa náà ni wọ́n jẹ́ kó rọrùn fún àwa obìnrin láti kàwé. Tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ wọn ìfẹ́ ká kàwé. Mo bẹ̀rẹ̀ látòrí ìyá wa Húmà ní alága, kí Ọlọ́run ọba kó dẹlẹ̀ fún wọn. Àti ìyá tèmi náà Húmà ní Adékúnbí Fọlọ́runṣọ́, kí Ọlọ́run ọba kó pa ìmọ̀ wọn pọ̀ mọ́ ti ànábì, kó ṣe wọ́n ní ìjọ kan náà. Ọlá láúlá wàlá quwwata illa billah. Ìmáàmù ẹ ṣé, mo dúpẹ́ púpọ̀ lọ́wọ́ yín. Pẹ̀lú ògo Ọlọ́run á tún jọ ṣe ẹ̀mí ni. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi. Ṣé lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ Ọlọ́run sọ kó wá lẹ́san rẹ̀ o. Ọlọ́run jẹ́ ká nípàdé ayọ̀. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So we will continue on Yoruba Gbode. We are moving to the second part, the second segment of the program. I thank you everybody who have been here since 2 o'clock. So we are going to the segment. I'm very happy to let everybody know that our special guest for today is here. I saw him. I'm trying to bring him back.
Camera.
Okay. I want
to start camera.
I can see him. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm very, very happy to introduce our honorable guest. I've heard about him long time ago as one of our great journalists in Nigeria. That wasn't the only thing that he was doing. He was also doing so many things, especially on advising about economy and ethics and everything. When I talk a little bit about his bio, we will understand the importance of the very, very great big fish that we were able to catch on Yoruba Gbode. I'm very excited and I'm very happy. I really appreciate your coming, sir. Dr. Nimi Wariboko is the Walter G. Muelda Professor of Social Ethics at Boston University. He is one of the most original and provocative thinkers, economic ethics and philosophers in the world today. He was an investment banker on Wall Street, New York, and our Lagos, Nigeria, before going into the academy. He has advised the Central Bank of Nigeria, National Security Advisor of Nigeria, and corporations in Nigeria on economic and management strategies, security issues, and corporate finance. Dr. Wariboko has also advised presidential and gubernatorial candidates seeking offices in Nigeria. Professor Wariboko is a well-known public intellectual. We are blessed and we are very happy to welcome you to Yoruba Gbode. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you much. Thank you. Thank you much.
Yoruba Gbode is a program that was established to enlighten our people, to make sure that our people get the enlightenment that we need. We are the host for the program is somebody who has had about 27 years experience in broadcasting from Nigeria to here. That is not the only thing that make Yoruba Gbode special. Other things that make Yoruba Gbode special is the people who are the backbone of this program. I'm starting with the chief wise man that we call Baba Amoye, Professor Adeniran Adeboye. Baba Adeboye is a professor from many, many years before somebody like me was born at at Howard University. He's a professor of mathematics. I would say 98% of our children are here that are done courses that has to do with mathematics has to go through Baba, whether directly or indirectly. Baba is an instrument of progress for the Yoruba in the community. He has also headed many, many Yoruba organizations. Baba, I'm introducing you to our special guest today. Okay? All right, Baba.
Thank you very much, Olotu. And thank you. Welcome to our special guest. I'm happy to see you and to learn. And that's actually the philosophy of Yoruba Gbode. We are all here to learn. Even the so-called Amoye or Awoye, they are not going to do more than learn from you and be able to share. So yes, we are welcome to the place, especially in the area of economics or social science, because they are all interconnected. So welcome here and thank you very much for honoring us.
Thank you, sir.
Engineer Thomas Oyetunde Bankole is one of our elders, one of our backbone on Yoruba Gbode. He has headed, like I said, he's an engineer of many, many years of experience from Nigeria to Canada. Actually, he lives in Canada and he comes here every Sunday from Canada.
True,
every Sunday. So, Baba Bankole, I'm very happy to introduce you to our honorable guest, Professor Wariboko.
Thank you very much, Olu. Thank you very much, Professor Wariboko. It's nice to have you here. I believe I'll be meeting you for the first time, and from what I heard from our Olu and from your smiles, I'm sure I'm in for a big time.
No, we are all in for co-learning. We learn from another. We are in for a conversation. There is no expert, there is no learning. We put our heads together to inform ourselves.
Yeah, but I know that they say all animals are equal, right? But I know it's
especially on this topic.
When it comes to economy and financing, I know you are more equal than I am. I could be more equal in other areas, but for today's topic, you are the boss. So you are welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I also had the honor to introduce to you Dokita Olopolo, Dr. Biyi Oyefule. is one of the backbones of Yoruba Gbode, one of the wise men that we have here. Dr. B, you ran away. Where is he?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm here.
So, Doctor, thank you, sir. Dr. Oyefule is a doctor of psychiatry. For some reason, I have problem calling that word. It fights me all the time. I don't care. It's not a Yoruba word. Leave me alone. That's what I tell him sometimes. So he has a big clinic, the Meadow Clinic, where he helps people with their brain. So I hope by the grace of God, we are going to enjoy him. So I'm very glad to introduce you, Dr. Oyefule, to our honorable guest today, Dr. Wariboko.
Thank you very much, Olochu. Professor Wariboko, welcome on board.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
And we are all ears. Anything that has to do with economy, social activities in Nigeria, we all want to learn. Believe me honestly, there are so many amateur economists as you can count on the streets, but we need to hear what our experts have to teach us. Welcome on board.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm going to go to him, but I just want to let people know that our people on radio, they have opportunity, as I always announce. Our people listening to us on radio, Yoruba Gbode from New World Radio, Philadelphia area, and part of New York. You can always text your questions. That is number one. Our people on YouTube, you can text your question. Our people on Reef Note website. Reef Note website is our partner in progress. They always anchor us and we work together. So that is what is going to happen today. We are going to learn. Sir, we are very happy that you are here. Now, the first thing that I want us to talk about is the economy of our country now. How do you see it? What does it look like? And then, how do we get here? Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you for that insightful question. The character or the nature of our economy is not good, in the sense that we don't need to look at numbers or statistics or so just to make a conclusion. We need to look at the suffering. If any one of us is here and you are in touch with your people back home, you would learn that people are suffering. So the people are suffering because the inflation rate is high. There is high unemployment rate. There is insecurity, and people just don't know what to do. So in terms of the human dimension of the economy, people are suffering. Now, how do we get here? Then we can talk about this is the present, but how do we get there? It has been a series of mismanagement and corruption that have brought us here. If you remember that the Obasanjo regime going to Yar'Adua and Goodluck, the economy was trending up and we all had hope. I was in New York and Boston telling people, this is the time to go home. And I was going home doing consulting for people that things we are looking very good, that we are going up somewhere. It was during that period I went home in 2011. I was consulting for the central bank because at that time we were trying to implement the program of 2020, that by the year 2020, Nigeria should be among the top 20 economies in the world. That is the basis of the 2020. And things look like we are growing towards meeting that goal. There was so much optimism under Obasanjo, Yar'Adua, Goodluck, and things we are going. But as it appears in the last 8 years under Buhari, we didn't do very well. Of course, it's not all to the faults of of the last president, but generally things began to look bad from the beginning of his administration with the herdsmen issue attacking people or so, and the insecurity increased. So all that affected the economy, and actually the level of corruption also seems to have increased. So all that brought Tinubu to, or people felt Tinubu had what it would take to turn around the economy. Just like after Goodluck, people thought Buhari had the military mettle and experience to stop the Boko Haram, and given his antecedents in his first term as a military head of state, that he was going to fight corruption or so, and Nigerians were disappointed. So Tinubu came in with that kind of expectation that he was going to do well. But of course, the economy in the last 9 months or so have not really done very well. So people are complaining. But looking to the future, do I have hope that Nigerian economy will do well? Yes, I'm an optimist in that. I sincerely believe that if we get our act together, we could be in the top 10 economies in the next 20 years. We could really get there. We need to get our act together in terms of how we invest our resources. We need to at least fight corruption. We cannot completely eliminate corruption, but we need to bring it down to the level where it does not hinder economic development, right? So we need to invest in infrastructure, that would take that would be the backbone of the economy. We need to invest in human capital, essentially, because the Nigerians are ready to learn, but a lot of the students that are coming out of our primary school to the secondary school to the universities, they have to be retrained to be part of the 21st century workforce. So we need to invest in human capital, not only at the level of schools, but also in the workplaces. How do we train our workers to be among the best?
Before you go on, sir, I have some other questions as we go on. You said now that security issue was one of the things that mess up the economy for Buhari, the headsman. Sometimes people will tell us that the economy, the security issue started because economy was bad. That because economy was bad, that was why people, those people, they were looking for money somewhere else. Okay, then now we are saying it's because of economy that the security was bad. What is the role of GDP, the things that we use to get dollar, pound sterling? For example, in June, I remember vividly because I was in Nigeria, the rate was like 500. Now, within 7 months, almost times 3. So why that sudden between that time to this time? What is the issue exactly that put us, that kicked us to that jump, the bad jump?
In a way, it's not actually a jump, right? To be very, we can apportion blame to the president, but let's understand what is happening. The economy was already that bad by the time Tinubu came in. It was that bad, right? So our exchange rate at that time did not reflect actually the condition of our economy. We are an importing economy, consuming economy. So our exchange rate by the time he was sworn in did not reflect. So it's like it was something that because of the way we manage it, we kind of hid it or so. He came in and said, let the Naira float, that we're not going to let it find its actual level. That is what brought it out, right? So you could say there are two causes for it. The economy was bad, couldn't sustain the real exchange rate that we are used to. And then he came in and he said, I'm not going to be supporting the Naira in the way wish to do it. We are going to let it float so it would find its natural level. Now, we may argue with him, is allowing the exchange to float, is that the best way? Even if that is the best way, knowing that if you allow the naira to float, it's going to cause inflation because we import a lot of things. How do you prepare the economy to absorb that kind of shock? Inflation is going to make the real value of wages or profit lower. So that is the part that they did not articulate very well. If they had a plan, the plan was not articulated. And of course, also the vision. If you are going to do this and you have a plan how the economy should go, do they really have the plan, the vision to articulate it to Nigeria, articulate it to the world, and see how things will go? But everything seems to have happened suddenly. So the naira got floated, and you remove
subsidy,
petroleum subsidy. So everything added up. At some point, we need to pay that price for the economy to go on, right? But it's how you handle it as a leader, and how you prepare your people for it, and how you project into the future that, look, we are making sacrifices for the sake of a stronger future. That was not articulated. But even if that was articulated, given the way the level of corruption is, the way the National Assembly and everybody is going, it's difficult for Nigerians to say, why are we paying this price when those in leadership are not paying that sacrificial price? So you see, like our learned professor and mathematician says, everything is connected with social sciences also. You can't just make an economic policy and ignore the sociology of the society or what is happening in order to carry the people along.
What is the role of government spending in all this?
Exactly.
Exactly. That is the point. Part of the reason why we are in this mess today, the Buhari administration, under the Emefele's leadership in the central bank, overspent. They were spending money, getting money from the central bank without rules also. Central bank was lending to individuals when they should lend to banks only. So the economy was heated up in terms of inflation because there was excess naira in the system that the government had no way of controlling it. And remember, towards the end of Buhari's government, they realized that the money supply in the economy was too high. There was too much naira floating around, even hiding in warehouses. So you cannot, their monetary policies were not working again. So what did they do? They came in to change the naira, thinking that would force people to bring it in and they would then control the naira out. But in the first place, they let all that money into the state. So when they pump too much money into an economy, they hire the money supply, and your production is not increasing, you are going to cause inflation. And when you cause inflation locally, it's going to also weaken your external exchange rate of the naira. And then when the external exchange rate of the naira depreciates or goes down, it's going to fuel back into the local economy again. So we are kind of caught in a cycle because Buhari administration did not have the kind of visionary leadership and discipline to control the money supply and the economy.
So people are saying that if Nigeria as a country has enough stuff to send outside, if we strengthen our farmers, our local products to go out, that it could have helped. What do you think?
Yeah, that is a very good idea, and it's a brilliant idea, and has been there for a very long time. But the thing about it is that there is a time lag, right? So yeah, if you produce and sell more, if you sell more oil, more gold, or more manufacturers or more farming product, yes, it's going to earn foreign exchange, and that will supposedly lower your exchange rate. But that takes time. There's a time lag. You cannot just wake up today and that will happen tomorrow. There could be a time lag from 6 months to 6 years when you put all those things in place. But the question we need to ask today, while that is a good economic idea, and others have used it, is our government, both at the federal level and at the state level, even individuals, are we on that path to growing our foreign reserve, to growing our foreign earnings? That has not happened yet. That no one can tell us today in the government that in 6 months' time, we estimate that our earnings is going to be this way, and this is where it's going to come from with the different sectors of the economy. That plan is not there. So theoretically, we know what to do, but practically, are we doing what we are supposed to do, or do we have the political will? Sometimes you may want to do an economic policy, but it takes certain political strength and will to implement it, or to execute it, or to even properly put it in place. We are not seeing that. If they're doing it, they're not telling us, and we would have known. But there's nothing in the pipeline to say we even have enough to feed ourselves and bring down our local deflation rate for food and have that access to supply. We don't know if there is control over our export of minerals and other things, or even in the oil. How much are we really exporting every day? You see documentaries about people doing bunkering or fire, as they call it in the Niger Delta, doing all that. We learned long ago during Buhari with Tompolo arrangement that we didn't know that there were pipes that were exporting oil, and they've been there for years, and the government did not know. So we are a country that, like in the 1960s, a professor at Princeton wrote a book called Planning Without Statistics. He was referring to Nigeria, that we're a country that plan our economy. We don't have the data, the statistics to really make a good show of it. That was in the 60s, Planning Without Statistics. I think Professor Stopper also. But now, 60 years after, we are still in the same place. We don't have the right statistics to know how to exactly calibrate the economy for maximum effect.
So one of the things that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu jumped at when he came in was oil subsidy removal. What was he thinking? And did it work?
Well, from what I learned for the news report, that there was disagreement. Some people in his immediate, as he was coming to the government, said, don't do it now, wait till he gets to the government. But he announced it on his first day. And what happened is that they have not made the necessary plan, or the preceding government, Buhari, did not create the plan that would look at the consequences and deal with it. So one may not fault him for removing the subsidy, right? He may agree with it theoretically or philosophically with it, but he said if he has done it, okay, what are the plans you put in place to minimize the negative impact on average Nigerians while we are waiting for the good impact, the lag time to pass, so we begin to reap the benefit? That was not done. So we see Nigerians suffering. We see the gas price, the pump price of petrol go up. So that is where, for me, the mistake was made, right? It's economic policy. He took to remove the subsidy, and that government may not remove it, but Nigerians have complained about that. I remember all the presidential candidates promised to remove it because everybody was complaining that it was a source of corruption. But while they were doing that during the campaign, where was his economic team to have put certain thing in place? So even if it's to remove it, as he did on the first day of his government, there could have been something to ameliorate the impact on Nigerians. But that wasn't put in place, and that is my mind. That is where he made a mistake. His government made a mistake.
So thank you, sir. If you are just coming in, this is Yoruba Gbode, and our guest today is Professor Nimi Wariboko. We are talking about economy in Nigeria. How did we get here? How can we get out? Can we ever get out? Can we say this too shall pass? I'm going to bring in Baba Moye, Professor Adeniran Adeboye. Baba, are you ready?
Yes,
Baba?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. My knowledge of sociology, economics, political science, everything I know about all of those things can be written at the back of a postage stamp. So I'm happy to be in your presence. And so my questions will be rather broad. So you will probably kindly use your expertise to glue them together. Because we are not going to be able to decouple those three things in pairs. They influence one another. The question is that we talk about corruption, we talk about oil bunkering, we talk about a whole lot of things that impact our situation. And we talk about the hope of people like you that if we find a way to manage our situation differently, we can be among the top 20 countries in the world before long. Now, what is the origin of our challenges as a country? When you look at the sociology, the fact that we are a diverse society, diverse religion, diverse ethnicity, diverse this, diverse that, put together in 1914 without our permission and managed until I don't know when, and without removing the problem of it was impossible to remove the problem of diversity, but not even giving the instrumentality for managing them. How did that impact our political structure in terms of governance? And if it did impact it and created a political culture that follows the diversity, what is the effect of that on the economy, on competition among people that allows corruption to be so rampant? Because when my ethnic group gets in there, we must take our own, that kind of thing. And even if you are an intelligent governor or how do you overcome the complexity that the political structure, which is answer to the sociological structure, the complexity that has created? How do you intelligently manage that to create a viable economy? Thank you very much.
Okay, that is a very loaded question. So I wouldn't pretend to answer the question from a learned professor, but I'm going to respond to a question and in a way provoke further conversation, and so we can learn. So I'll take you out maybe in about 4 or 5 short steps. You asked about the origin, how we came together. So the way the country was put together goes back to the interest of the British colonial government, right? So we were a product of colonialism, and as a matter of fact, the origin of the Nigerian state started as a corporation. It was the Royal Niger Company that the British government gave the power to form the primitive state that we saw. And from there, when it began to put things together, the government was officially invited in, Lord Lugard, or so. So we started as a corporation. So therefore, it was created to satisfy the economic interests of a foreign power. It was created to have its sovereignty outside its territory. It was created in a way that the views of the locals or the different ethnic groups were not consulted. So diversity was part of it, but diversity itself is not a disadvantage if we knew how to manage it, or if we, on our own consensus, came together and what we do. Even within Western Nigeria, Southeast or South-South, even if we go on a different way, we still have different forms of of diversity. Then he said, how did the political culture that is now that have become an inhibitory factor. How did it come about? I'm going to respond to that in 2 ways. One is that Peter Eke, when he was teaching at University of Ibadan, I think in 1974, he wrote a paper, the Colonialism and the Two Publics. He said, if you want to understand the nature of the political culture and corruption in Nigeria, you need to go back. He said, when the colonialism was in full force, we had 2 sets of moralities. He said there was a morality about working for the colonial government, and there was our indigenous ethnic morality. In the indigenous ethnic moral side, you dare not steal from your public, from your town. You're held accountable. But on the other side, on the civic morality, on the public side, if you are working for the colonial government, you were expected by your ethnic group to take resources to fight at that center and bring it to help your people. Yeah. So in at one level, at the indigenous, what they call the primordial sphere, we were trained or expected to be very honest. But in the public sphere, we are trained to steal, take resources, appropriate resources for our ethnic group. Now, so the white man left, and the public was still there. And we are still doing the same thing. Everybody goes to the public square, to the federal level, and want to extract resources for their people. And the corruption that was there, which we ignored during the colonial time, kind of
extract.
Also. So you could see. But now the issue is that in the past, if you're a Yoruba man and a John man, an Igbo man, and Hausa man, why you could take resources from the colonial government to benefit your own people? You're not expected to steal from your own people. But now, both the stealing is occurring at the central level, at the state level, and even in your village level, even in your household, people would take a central fund. You see, so the corruption that we allowed to prevail during the colonial time has kind of the chickens have come home to roost. But there was another thing that was happening during the colonial time, because the state started as an extractive industry, and a state that did not care for the people. We are just a governed and defeated people. So corporations, British government enabled their corporation to extract money. So how did that affect us? In Nigeria, we now began a process where the political state, the access to state power, has become the most important means of production. Today, you could be a billionaire if your party wins election and the governor or the president gives you oil block. So you see, that era of that process of making access to state power or state control as a means of making money is so endemic that people go to politics to extract and make money. Before I go to your solution, I've given you the history through the perspective of Peter Eke. I've given you history through the Royal Nigeria Company and the extractive corporation and politics as a means of production. But there is also a third aspect. Peter Eke also wrote, but in a paper that is not so popular as the first one I quoted, he said, if you look at the history of the African state, before even the colonialism came in, that the state, the government, was not always friendly to its citizens. So you could see, he said, at the time of the slave trade, a lot of African governments, or at least the part of this in Nigeria, were exporting their own people. We are fighting each other. The Yoruba civil war that went up in the 19th century for a long time was part of warlords that are Yoruba themselves fueling the war to extract slaves to export. Right? So there were other differences that caused the war, but at a certain point, the war became a profitable venture for some people, and that was not only limited to Yoruba. It was happening. Extraction of people for export was happening in the Niger Delta, was happening in the southeast. It was happening in the north. Some of the outcome of the jihadist movement and war was to extract slaves to sell. So from his perspective, he said, look, we need to look into ourselves. Some of our governments, not all, were not very friendly to the people. So I've given you the historical side of the origin and how we got to the present, at least in the limited time we have. Now, the next issue you said, how can the diversity be managed? I believe that we need to have a proper federal system. What we operate in Nigeria is not true federalism. It's a unitary system. We can call it any name we want. In the 1950s, when we had the region, at least the regions had more power and they focused on their development. You could see it was a competition. We saw how the West developed economically, even education, because Awolowo was focused on that and had the resources. But then at independence, and then come this the coup with Agi Rossi and Gowan and Murtala going back to Pacho, they began to concentrate power at the central. So we don't really have a regional system. So for a society that is this diverse, we need a proper federal system with pluralism, where each individual, each state or region will control their resources and plan for their development, plan for their security, and the national level could handle common things like foreign relations, border control, internal security, military, and other things, monetary policy, and try to bring us together. The way we are operating, the center is too powerful and ignores the interests of the local stuff. And in addition to the a proper federal system, we also need to focus on pluralism, right? What does pluralism mean? Pluralism means that we are one people, but we have different values, different interests. Also, I'm a Christian, you are a Muslim, I'm a Muslim, you're a Christian, or traditional African religion. We may have different views on things, but how do we create a system, a judiciary system, a political system that will respect such differences and know that differences matter and respect individuals? But that is a political consciousness that we are here to have. That idea of running a federal system within a pluralistic worldview or value system. I think if we do that together, we can begin to work our way towards our greatness. I still believe that Nigeria has greatness in it. And one day, that greatness will manifest. My prayer is that I should live to see that day. And I hope that all of us will live to see that day.
I pray that way too. But sir, one more question. You mentioned in your explanation about how what is now Nigeria was really a business that was being handled by the Royal Niger Company. The other Tubman Goldie's design. And later on, by 1914, it was handed over to, the so-called colonial administration got it and paid for it. And that's how Nigeria, as a political entity, began, having been bought from a corporate body. Today, I want to go to the oil sector. Shell, BP, Exxon, what have you. Do you have any data about what percentage of oil revenue is shared with Nigeria? What percentage is kept by the company?
Actually, thank you for that question. I don't know. But that is a question that figures that should easily be made available to Nigeria. We don't even really know how much oil we export or what kind of contract we have in place, how much we've sold forward. Yeah, also the idea that we encourage Dangote, which is refinery, to get it going. And now we read in the newspapers that he has to import his oil from abroad, right, from foreign countries. So there are a lot of things that are hidden, that are opaque in the Nigerian system, right? So we don't really know. I don't have that number. It's somebody in government that will give us. I read somewhere in the papers that the numbers the Central Bank of Nigeria gives is different from the one the Minister of Finance has. And if you add Office of the Presidency, they will have the different number. So within the government itself, they don't even reconcile their number.
Mm-hmm. Well, the reason I asked that question, and I'm going to shut up after this one, is that I used to be a statistical officer at Ikoyi.
Yes.
No, assistant statistical officer. 1964 or 5, I was at Ikoyi Labor Office.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, that was 65. In 64, I was at the Ministry of Labor as assistant labor inspector. So data collection, and in between, I was at the Employment Bureau on whatever the name of the street in Lagos. But the point of I'm making is that collecting data, analyzing data has been part of the structure. I don't know, has been part of the structure since about the time of independence, if not before. In fact, before, because the Federal Office of Statistics wasn't created in 1960. Does anybody pay attention to the data? Because I worked hard and I was a very junior officer, but I know the kind of thing I worked on. Does any government really even pay attention to the data collected, or is it all political type thing?
Let me tell you from my experience. Having talked with people in government or consulted for them, even if the data were collected,
analyzed,
the people who make decisions do not care about those. They don't resort to it. So the data may be sitting down there. I'll give you one personal story. In 2011, I've finished for weeks consulting for the central bank, and that the Office of National Security was General Azazi called me to say that they're rethinking Nigerian security strategy. And so they talked to me and I said, we should take economics as a dimension of national strategy. Economy, right? So national strategy, I said, should not only be taught in terms of guns, ships, bombs, security personnel, but economy is a dimension of national security.
Yeah.
How do we begin to rethink every sector of the economy, our economic performance as part of national security, and that the elimination of poverty as national security should have. Poverty is a threat to national security in many dimensions. And how do we begin to flesh that out? So I was doing that work in 2011 to 2012. At 2012 or so, I met a friend of mine who was in the Buhari government, just concluded. But at that time, it was not the government. Took me to one of the houses of one of the former ministers of the government, who served with Obasanjo, and she asked me what am I doing for the presidency, and this was under Goodluck, and I told her I'm working on a document called the Economic Dimension of National Security, and there was also another professor from the US who was doing that work, and she was shocked. She said, when I told her what I'm doing and that we are starting from the scratch, she said, with that, sir, we did all that under Obasanjo, prepared a document. Why is it that you are talking to the Office of National Security Advisor? At the minimum, they should put out that document for you to start. But it's like everything starts from the scratch. And I said, no one told me about it. In the whole Office of the National Security, no one remembered that such a document was prepared under Obasanjo. So what does that tell you? You may collect statistics, but you can't force the politician or the policy makers to use it. Do they even have the sensibility to ask for statistics? When I was in the business school at Columbia University, and we were doing statistics and mathematics at that master's level, And some of us didn't like it, some students, of course. And the professor said, look, I'm not training you to be a PhD mathematician or statistician, right? You are not doing masters in statistics. But because you are doing economics and business, you need to know that so that when you are a CEO, you will know how to ask for statistics and how to use it and how to embed it in your decision making. You will know how to interact. If you don't have that mentality, that inclination, that presupposition to say, before I make decision, do I call for the statistician and the statistic and the mathematician to help me reason? He said, if you don't have that mindset, if you become a CEO or a top government officer, you will not even know how to use the sciences that is available to you. You even need to ask people to gather it for you. I think that's what is happening in Nigeria. I always felt that our educational system should emphasize some familiarity with statistics and statistical reasoning. I see the way people reason. Very rich people, government people, you know that if they've done some elementary statistics, it will change the way they reason about public policy. So statistics is not just the number, it changes the way you think. It makes you a better thinker and that is what we don't have in the Nigerian sector. And when you don't have, I asked somebody once, I said, how come Awo was good in certain things other than the other people at this level at that time? And they said that one reason Awo was that good is not that he was 100 times smarter than other people, right? That there were two things that they said he did. They said Awo surrounded himself with intellectuals, with people who would give him very sound advice. And he would collect their thinking, work on it, and become smarter, right? So he gathered people, and he knew how to do his homework. He was willing to do the homework, and he also had people he could turn to guide his thinking before he made certain decisions. I'm not saying by that he was perfect, but at least that's what I learned about it. But sir, in our political system, once you define, you find people that disdain any form of intellectual learning or seriousness or thought. They don't care. Once you have money, money is what makes everything. And they don't do their homework. They can't sit down, go back at home, read stuff, think about it independently, and struggle with the thought. They lack those two things. They may be politically savvy, but when your leaders lack those two things that made people like Awo great, then we are in for the kind of neglect of statistics that, sir, you just talked about.
Baba?
Okay, I want to make sure that everybody else has a chance to raise their questions. But okay, just in passing, Awolowo studied commerce as a correspondence course. He had a Bachelor of Commerce degree before he even went to study law. So in terms of familiarity with figures and making statistical inference and what have you, by 1942, 43, 44, he was already in that mood before he went to I don't know what other people did, but I'm saying it was more equipped than the average person of his era in management of data.
Yes.
And you can see what he did with the central bank when he became commissioner for finance under Yakubu Gowon. He and the governor of central bank had frequent meetings and frequent assignments, all because of that experience.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. You are very correct.
So thank you so much, Professor Waribuku. Thank you so much, Baba Adeboye. Thank you, sir. I'm going to call Baba Amoye Dr. Biyi Oyefule to ask his question. A doctor with brain.
The real brain.
Dr. Olopolo, Dr.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you in?
Thank you very much. I'm here. I just couldn't get my microphone working. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yes, we can hear you. Perfect.
Thank you very much, Professor Wariboko. We really appreciate all you said. I just want to add to the last conversation that then I will go on with my question. Most of our politicians, like you said, Prof, they are more like black and white thinkers, black and white. Statistics and data helps them appreciate that gray area between black and white. And when people do not know statistics, they do not appreciate that there's a time lapse in everything. What we get is the type of politicians Nigeria has right now. So having said that, I'm thinking about the issue of depreciation of the Naira. And like you said, what we see now is something that's been brewing for the past 8 years. And suddenly Tinubu let everything out, and we see the result, and people think it's Tinubu's fault, whereas it's something that's been going on. Now, this food importation is one of the things that takes money away from Nigeria. When we import rice, when we import this, when we import that.
Tomato.
In a tropical country, we're importing food that we produce. But then, who's to blame the people who do not want to do agriculture? I don't want my own hand to get cut off by the terrorists, the Fulani terrorists. I don't want my wife to be raped, my mother to be raped, like these people are doing all over the place. Now, question is this. If it's so very apparent that there will always be food production unless there will always be food importation unless we gear up our agricultural production, and we know that people cannot go to the farm because they're scared to get their hands cut off by Fulanis. I always thought it was an easy thing for somebody to reason, let's get rid of all these vermins and terrorists in our land. But so far, I've not heard anybody at the national level talking about getting rid of these vermins. And I call them vermins because if you go around raping women, helpless women, and you're cutting off their husband's hand, you are a vermin. Now, my question to you, Prof, do you think, and I'm not asking you to be a predictor of another man's action, do you think a time will come when the current presidency will think that that's the major thing facing the country at the current time, and for them to put actions in place?
Well, thank you very much for that question. Before I respond, I know you feel very strongly, but calling people vermin, some people might feel is too strong a language for our fellow.
No.
So of course, it's very wrong. Is depicable for what they did. But I'm not. The show is not about that. Sometimes certain actions stir up certain emotions. So let me go to the issue of the food insecurity, right? So this is what I said about how economy is part of our national security, right? So if the economy is weak, you're going to get a lot of youths that are unemployed, and then they're going to go into all sorts of crime, or so that is what. So you're very right that if you want to address the food insecurity issue, we need to address the security issue in the country, and begin to tackle it both at the source and also bring those who break the law to justice, have this state security infrastructure to prevent that from happening, to make it costly for those who commit such crime, so that they don't do it again. But all that is it's not happening. Why? Because we need to face one issue. Unfortunately, the Nigerian state has collapsed in a way, or others experts will say, what we have, state failure. So the state is not there for the citizen. Whether President Tinubu likes it or not, the state infrastructure, the strength of the state does not cover the East populace. Like if you are in Canada or in the US, you can travel in the night. Your daughter, your wife can pick up a car, say she's going from Boston to New York, start the journey at 9, and you're not going to be worried. You may be worried about possible accident because it's night, but you know that she's going to get there. So the ability of a state to provide security for its citizens, this is one of the paramount things why states are formed. You provide security. The Nigerian government has failed to do that. And that has been going on for a long time. I'll come to your Tinubu question, but let me give you one anecdote. A former president finished office and came to Boston and picked up the phone to call me. He said, let's meet. I said, oh, you're in Boston, fine. I have a class to teach. After my class, tell me where you're going to be and we are going to meet. And after my class, I sorted out in the city in Boston and we met. And now in the process of talking with this ex-president, I now said something about the insecurity that was going on in the country. And this president put his hand on his head and said, Mimi, that is a big problem. So at the end of the day, we started talking about it, and I felt that, wait a minute, I'm talking to a president who has just left office in months, and he's complaining to me how the problem is unsolvable. I felt like I was talking with my mates in a beer parlor or some of that where we are all fellow citizens, right? I felt, like the president put his hand on his head as if two of us are ordinary citizens.
It's illiterate.
You are.
Yeah, but I'm just saying how the problem overwhelms president. That investment is not there. That being president or governor, that is your number one responsibility to provide security for your people. And for your people, I mean everyone that resides in that territory of your state or in that territory of your country, right? But that consciousness is not there. So the present government, as we see, even Buhari government, going back to Goodluck government of Obasanjo, have not really tackled the issue of saying our number one responsibility is to provide security. And if we don't put that in place, then the state is weak, the state will collapse, we can't do much. And that's why we have this increase. Part of the inflation and all the problem we have, as you rightly said, is because of food insecurity. You can't even move things around without paying penalties or giving warlords or whatever you call them money just to do something. Now, will this government ever tackle this problem, the current government? Yeah, I don't know. But recently, I read in newspapers, if the newspaper reports are correct, that they are charging some terrorists or some financiers, because these terrorists are being financed by very powerful people, right? Yeah. They are doing that. And my issue is that at least that is the right move. It might be small, not big enough, but the past governments did not do that. They are now doing that. I hope they would go about it thoroughly and look within themselves. Because remember, when Azazi was in power nationally, he gave a report. He said, those financing Boko Haram, he said they are part of the PDP in the government itself. And PDP got very angry and said, they began to cause trouble for him. So until the ruling class looks within itself at the behest of the president and the determination of the president to say, those sponsoring the insecurity, those people that kill, they are linked to the ruling class. And until they're willing to bring the so-called holy cows onto judgment, this issue will not stop. Well, if the economy grows, maybe and begin to develop, it might change. But before we get to that point of El Dorado, before we get there, certain security measures have to be taken. Otherwise, Nigeria will find it difficult to recover its economic strength.
Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Oyefule, are you thorough with your questions, sir?
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay. Thank you so much. For people who are just coming in, this is Yoruba Gbode, and our special guest is Professor Nimi Wariboko, who is a professor of social ethics and economy from Boston University. Thank you so much, sir. Our time is going. I'm not going to exceed the time that we talk about because I know that you are busy. I'm going to call Otumba Oseni to ask his question. Otumba, you are on.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Hello, Professor.
Thank you, sir.
I just want to make a small comment. Knowing all what you know and all what many Nigerian professors in economics and some other area of finance know, what exactly do you think is wrong with us that we are still not making progress? What I mean by that is, I'm not being rude to anybody. Is anything to do with element of retardedness that we're still not getting it right?
Yeah, part of it.
We're still not getting it right. And when you look at the main area, which I mean, I only read political science and a little bit of law. When you look at one of the main causes of corruption, is it also not right to dedicate, put all everything we have to fight corruption? Because I will always said, if the cause of a problem is not dealt with, the problem will always be there. Thank you.
This morning or so, I engaged with a friend on WhatsApp. We were exchanging views about this, why things are not happening in Nigeria. My position then and now is that our value system are broken down. Not only our infrastructure, the value system is broken down. Mm-hmm. And until we address that value system, see, you cannot create a civilization if you don't have a good normative framework. So that's why I believe that if you just do economy with statistics or the technical side of economics, you are going to miss a great deal about society. So you need to also understand the ethics, the norms. That's why some of us have a subspecialization of economic ethics, because our value system needs to be rebuilt. It has broken down. It is such that it cannot support development. And that is also one of the contributors to the corruption issue, right? So how do we rethink the value system? How do we begin to rebuild it up at every level, from the individual to the corporate level, from the household to the state to the national? In the university system, we see everywhere we turn, our value system are broken down. But that does not mean that there are no pockets of goodness or so. If there are no pockets, we won't even have a place to stand to critique something. We even know where we got wrong. So that is two. The other thing is also about culture. How does culture support economic development? I think there are certain aspects of our culture that we need to reinvestigate. Right? Recently, in Punch, about 2 weeks ago or 3, I wrote an article that America is more communalistic than Nigeria. That with the corruption and the way things are happening, we cannot still claim that we're a communalistic country, that things that we should do individually or arrange to be done collectively for ourselves, we are no more doing it, right? So we need to look at how do we even rethink the communal structures of our country. In terms of why we are not doing very well, this question had bothered me since about 1984, that people used to ask the question in those days, look at our engineers. They said they all went to the same school with the American engineers or the European engineers, the same university, they outperform them in the class. But once they come to Nigeria, it's like they don't do well. So if we are smart, why are we not doing well? I think that the issue is not with our smartness. Nigerians are very bright and they are very smart. The thing is that when anybody that worked in the United States or Europe, or even the university system here, you know that the training and the direction you get when you are in the workplace is actually more continuous, more powerful than your education. You meet other brilliant minds. You meet senior people who would put you through, would direct you, who inform you about the processes. So you are not just stuck with what you learn, and you meet other people who have better experiences, and they train you, they bring you up. That kind of interaction is what is missing. In Nigeria, you are left to go to a place after you are training, and probably you are the greatest expert there, or the environment does not really make you excel or others to excel. And you find out that over time, everything goes down. So you may be brilliant, more brilliant than your colleagues in the university system here. But when you get to that culture, that environment that does not promote excellence, does not promote, if things begin to deteriorate. Take the UI for instance. In the 60s and 50s, people from other countries were coming to the medical school in the UI, the hospital, teaching hospital, to get good treatment. Like the history department was world famous for the Ibadan school. There were things that the University of Ibadan was famous. Similarly, UNILAG or University of Nigeria in Suka or Ahmadu Bello. So there was an environment where they brought the best minds together and they robbed each other. But this is not what happened. I remember when I finished my youth corps in 1985, I got admission into to do PhD economics into some of the top Nigerian universities. And my professor, who was, when I was a student, Dean of School of Social Sciences, under which the economy department was at that time, Professor Claude Ake, he said he was signing my stuff to go. He said, Nimi, don't go to any Nigerian university for your PhD. At that time, I was baffled. I was interested in going to abroad. I was admitted by school, leaving Cambridge, everything to come and do. And I said, why? He said, Nimi, the problem is that you are going to get brilliant on old ideas. These were his words. I will never forget. Since 85, almost 40 years ago. He said, you'll be brilliant on old ideas. And what did he mean there? He said, he was the dean, a professor. He said, we are not getting new journals. The government is not funding us. So you go there, your professors will teach you the best ideas that they knew, but there are no resources for them to be current. So they will teach you what you know, and they will grade you first class because you had, or something like that, you had first class in your first degree, and everything will go. But he said, you find out that you are brilliant on old ideas. What does that tell you? That we have children today in Nigeria who are very bright in the Nigerian university system. But because there are no resources, teachers are not being paid, labs are not being funded, those kids are brilliant. Oftentimes, we grade them first class, second class, upper, or so, but they're brilliant on all ideas. If you meet some PhD, just those who just got their PhD from Nigeria, you see enthusiasm with them. But when you talk to them about what is happening currently in their field, some of them are years behind. Some are decades behind in terms of university. But they are brilliant people. Right? So this is what explains what is happening to us. It's not that we're any inferior as a race or as a people. I believe Nigerians are very bright. But what keeps me up at night is this. It's been keeping me up at night for decades. At the time of American independence, Brazil and Argentina were economically ahead of the US. 200 years after, they're still circling in that place, and US have left there. So my fear is that we may have all the hope that we want to go forward. if we are not very careful, 200 years from now, our great-grandchildren will be talking about the same thing. We will not still be among the top 20 economies in the world. If somebody told me that 40 years after I graduated from the university with a first-class degree in economics, Nigeria will be in this mess. 40 years has passed. If you're not careful, another 40 years will go. Brazil and Argentina are still today, they've not overtaken the US, but at some point they were ahead. So a country could be going around a circle. Maybe we'll make some incremental changes, but are we going to fully realize our potential as one of the greatest economies in the world? If we don't do something now, our great-grandchildren will have a program like this, and we'll be talking about the same thing. And that is why we need to put our heads together.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.
Amoye Bankole, engineer, are you in? Do you want to ask a question? I've been looking for you. Or else I will call somebody else. We have about 15 minutes left.
Well, I'm always around, madam.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't see you. Okay. You want to ask a question,
Thank
sir?
you, Professor. I really enjoy your lecture. And like I said, you brought new views, new viewpoints, new dimensions into this discussion. And I'm really being rewarded just by listening to you. And like you are, I'm an optimist. I believe things will turn around. I believe we've hit the bottom and we are at the point of inflection. We are coming back up. That's what I believe when we talk about economy in Nigeria. But you said something about our leaders. Are you hearing me, sir?
Yes, yes.
You said something about our leaders being serious about really wanting to turn things around. But do you think those guys are serious? Because among them, we have sponsors of terrorists or terrorism, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have economic saboteurs. And what I mean by economic saboteurs is this. I mean, they do it here in the US. You are a congressman or a senator. You have benefits that you take back to your constituency. They give you some projects to go execute in your constituency, and you go there and you execute those projects. But our people will take money, like Okabio now has 2 billion to himself for projects in his constituency. Nigeria will be lucky if he spends 200 million out of that.
20 billion.
Okay. Nigeria will be lucky if he spends 200 million out of that for the benefit of the constituency. That's an economic saboteur as far as I'm concerned. What they do is go out, buy dollars with this money, and then make dollars scarce for the manufacturers who want the money. Make dollars scarce for the student who wants to travel abroad and things like that. So that's why I call them economic saboteurs, even though they think that they are the ones that are there to save us.
Thieves.
So do you think these people really mean business? Do you think they can do anything for us? And not only that, they are talking to the masses to tighten belts. How much can you tighten? I mean, with the way people are right now, the people up there are not making any sacrifice. And they're expecting the people below to continually to be a living sacrifice like the Bible asks of us.
Tighten.
How can that be possible? So, I mean, these are my views. They are not necessarily questions, but I believe you can say something about it.
Yeah, I will say something briefly. 3 points about it. One is that I've come to this sad realization that the ruling class, the people that lead us in Nigeria, are wicked and they don't love Nigerians. Let us get to that part straight. These people are wicked, cruel, and they don't love Nigeria. There's no element of love. They treat us, the whole country, as a conquered territory.
They are thieves too.
October 12th.
They are pillaging us. Let us see, it might be our brother, your cousin, your sister, your husband. But let us accept the fact that the people that rule us do not like us. As a matter of fact, they hate us. That is the only way to make sense of what they are doing. Number two, they're stealing, but we also have to know maybe there's a way to begin to put pressure. Most of those stolen money are hidden in America and in Western nations. So the people that do not like us also include the American state and the economy and Nigeria, because they keep telling us stealing is bad, but where do these people hide their properties, hide their wealth? They hide them in the financial capitals of the world. These are not African countries, right? So you see also the hypocrisy of Western government. Once in a while they would bring a Pasha's loot and say something. But there are people right now in government who have collectively they've stolen more money than Abacha did. If they begin to mop up, expose them, but they will not do because the money benefit their own economy. So we also need to know that. And finally, I've always advocated that what is our governance philosophy? Until we focus governance at all levels on what is called human flourishing. What does human flourishing means? That if I'm a governor or a ruler or a state, my role is to create the best opportunity, the environment that will make every Nigerian to be the best that he or she can be, given their God-given endowment, their capabilities, what they have. How do I create the best environment for people to flourish, to be the best of themselves? That is what I owe them. If I create an environment that every Nigerian can become the best that he or she can be, then we have a government. And how do I show that I love Nigerians, right? The way I show that I love Nigerians is to work for social justice for everybody. And what do I mean by social justice? For me, social justice is love, L-O-V-E, writ large, W-R-I-T, love writ large. What does that mean? If I have a daughter, I have 3 children, I love them and I do everything within my powers for them to become the best that they can be, given their talents, right? Every child is not the same. All of us are not with the same capabilities or virtues, but we enable them, we train them to become the best that they can be, given the time, technology, and where they are, right? That is, I love myself. But I can't pretend that I would love every Nigerian child from Sokoto to Port Harcourt in the same way I love my daughter. But if I'm a ruler, I'm not saying I don't need to have that passionate care in my heart. But what do I mean by social justice? If what is good for my child to become the best, as a governor, I should create that system so that the child in Sokoto, in Ibadan, in Enugu, or in Yola that I do not know would have the same opportunity to become the best that he can be. And that is what, for me, is social justice. That's what I mean by social justice is love writ large. Social justice is not about suing people for human rights. We've reduced it to human rights, fight over human rights, or suing people when police slap somebody. Social justice is our whole governance system to say, how do we create the Nigeria that will enable every child, whether the child of the rich or the child of the poor, to become the best that he or she can be. There are many talents and potential that are being destroyed in Nigeria because we don't have a governance system that allows people to actualize their potential. That kind of philosophy of government is lacking in Nigeria.
Thank you so much, sir. There are many ends, but we have to finish at 5:30. So if I'm not able to entertain new ends, you have to forgive me, and we will wait until next time when we have this opportunity again. God with us. 1 minute. What is your name?
Emmanuel Oni Kwide.
Okay, all right, sir.
Thank you, our guest, for this opportunity. I just have questions. The first one is on the subsidies. I was thinking that maybe it would have come out differently if the subsidy have been introduced gradually. Because what happened the moment the president announced it, this price started going up right away. So that doesn't make sense because they are still dealing with old price. That is one question. And the second one is inflation, that what can be done to actually curb that. I raised the point about Udoji in the 70s, that where the price control was put in place to stem that. So why is it that the government not able to institute that at this time to help? The third one will be on currency. Does weak currency automatically denotes weak economy? Just to cite Japan as an example of that, their exchange rate compared to dollar is very high, but they are one of the industrial economy. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay, so probably this is the last question. So you asked many questions. Let me take them. Yeah, the subsidy, they could have removed it gradually, and that would have helped. Or they felt that if they did it gradually, people would still take advantage of it. But the most important thing is that what kind of plan do they make? Did they put in place to make sure that the consequences, the negative consequences of the subsidy were being addressed? That is the point. Whether they do it gradually or not, if they didn't have that kind of plan, it's still going to affect the way people feel, because it is going to inflict pain on the economy. But if you're going to tell people to bear certain pain so that tomorrow will be better, you need to carry the people along. Believe in them, be transparent, and say this is what you have. They didn't do that. So if they didn't have that plan, or if they did, we didn't see it. Or I don't know why they didn't do it. Then the issue of inflation is that inflation is high because, like I said earlier, money supply during the last Buhari administration, generally, they've not controlled the spending of money. And even in the present government, I don't know if they're consciously focused on that, with all the things we hear about the senators and the House of Rep giving themselves fantastic money, or so. The other issue is that inflation, you control the money supply, but you have to also focus on production, because inflation simply means more money pursuing fewer goods. So if you can bring the money supply down and also increase production, you are going to bring inflation under control. And so the way people borrow with ease with which they borrow. But all that would take time to pan out. It's not going to be you do it today and tomorrow you would see the effect. So a government needs to stay on course and actually have actionable plan that they follow, and that is what is going to bring the inflation down. In terms of price control, he said after Udoji, again, it was Gowon's time. I think at the time of Udoji, I was in primary school. So Gowon, they just raised salary, and that kind of caused inflation in the country. They didn't once again properly plan to do that. They just raised the salary. People went out and bought things that they couldn't afford before. All of a sudden, because Gowon felt Nigeria has more money, oil money, and they didn't know what to do with it. And he said, his problem was that not money, but he said what to do with money. So you could see there was really no economic plan that was thought through. And he said, why can't the Tinubu's government institute price control? Even if that is going to work, philosophically, they're not going to do it.
Because they are brain dead.
Not only because they're brain dead, because if you have agreed to float the Naira, means that you want market prices to run everything for you. It will not seem contradictory. So they've got themselves into this position by promoting that they can solve the problem or the price problem by freeing up the market completely. But then you can't turn around and say, now you don't believe in neoliberal capitalist policy of market operation, and you want to use price control. So you see, that is the philosophical quagmire that they are in, right? So how do you go back and you want to begin to control price? Now, the final thing is, he said, does weak currency always tell us about an economy is weak? Remember, Japanese, the exchange rate we are seeing today, years ago it was worse. So yeah, it may still look like you need a lot of yen to exchange. But if you look at after Second World War, the number have actually increased. So the currency you are seeing is a strong currency. It's not the pure mathematical number that is the issue. Compared to where they are coming from and what they can do and their reserve, yes, they have a strong currency. But generally, on a theoretical level, weak currency could mean that you are importing more, your balance of payment arrangement is against you, that you are consuming more foreign products than you are exporting to pay, and that kind of imbalance will cause weak currency. Sometimes weak currency may happen temporarily, even though your economy is strong, because people are either speculating on it, or they feel that the government is unstable, or the rate you have now will not be stable going forward. Generally, the way to build a strong currency is to build a strong economy, right? So if you build a strong economy, and not only a strong economy, an economy that can generate external surplus, and that's what China is, right? It has generated a surplus, just like the US did after the First World War. It was the country that has the greatest foreign reserve and export surplus, but it didn't take over the headship of the global monetary system until after the Second World War. China has also reached that point where they have more reserves than the US. But because US is using its own currency as a global payment system, it doesn't need to make that adjustment. It should. Otherwise, US to its currency should begin to depreciate. But because its currency is the stuff, we can go into that arrangement. I wrote a whole book on the global monetary system on how to re-evaluate it and rearrange it in the light of some Christian ethical principle. I call it God and Money, a theology of money in a globalizing world. So, and China sometimes make its currency weaker than it should be because it wants to have its goods cheap, so people will buy more. But the problem in Nigeria is that as our currency is weak today, we should have an export boom, right? Foreigners want to buy more because our currency is cheap. The problem is that we don't have something to sell. So depreciation, we get the inflation part of depreciation of the currency, but we don't get the benefits, at least not now, because even the oil that we sell is denominated in dollars, not in naira. Anything. It doesn't make, you can depreciate all you want. It does not make our naira stronger or weaker because the oil is denominated in dollar, and we get payments in dollar, right? So that is the thing we export. I don't know how much of cocoa we export now. All those things that we do, they don't really amount to much. So you see, so that's why we are caught in this kind of trap, right? Our currency is weak. It's supposed to make people buy from us. But what are they buying from us? Let's say, even if we have good security, we have good tourism, right? It could bring people to have, and tourism could generate billions of dollars for us. But the government is not focused on tourism. And if you have so much insecurity, you can't have good tourist industry. So we may not export anything, but if you have a good tourist, it could earn billions of dollars for us, and it could help boost the economy. So until we we create what we can export or what we can invite others to buy. And then also, while our currency is weak, the ruling class and the politicians, they're exporting the little capital we have, taking it out of the country to put in banks outside. That creates extra pressure on the Naira exchange rate. And foreign corporations are also exporting their capital and their resources. The oil companies will inflate their costs so that Nigerian governments pay them more for their share of the oil production, and they take that abroad. So there are many things in the economy that weakens our currency. There are many things, and we need to sit down and carefully. The government needs to be determined, and of course, corruption also affects our economy.
Really?
Corruption will affect our economy. So, and these are the ways that we need to address. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everybody, for inviting me.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm very, very grateful for your time and for everything that we have gained. This has been a very, very learning period for most of us, and we are very, very grateful. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir. This thing is playing. So on behalf of everybody at Yoruba Agbode, especially the Yoruba Agbode working team, I want to thank you very much, sir. And I hope that when we call you next time, we are going to enjoy this kind of response by because the Yoruba people will say, when you eat an orange and it's sweet, you want to go back and get the second one. That is what we do on Yoruba Agbode. So my prayer is that Almighty God will bless you and reward you for all that you do for humanity. And I'm proud to say that Yoruba Agbode will be the first person to say happy birthday to you for your birthday this year. We learned that the 4th of April is your birthday. We rejoice with you, sir. And my prayer is that God's guidance and blessings will continue to follow you as you serve humanity. Thank you so much, and happy birthday in advance. Long life and prosperities. So everybody, can you help me to say happy birthday to Dr. Wariboko?
Happy birthday to you.
Baba, take it to song. And
Happy
I join
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Didi. Happy birthday to you. And you should
How
come
old
back
are
to
you
this next
now?
week.
Oh man, here we go.
Anyway, we need to continue the discussion.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Don't forget what we have learned before you add to it. So hopefully we can negotiate an early return.
Yes. I'm very happy to have participated. I know she wanted to get me on the program in December 2022 when the Naira crush was there. But in Nigeria, I told that doing Zoom meeting in Nigeria, with where I was at that time in eastern part of the country, the Zoom wasn't working well. I said we should wait till.
I have a number of critical hands up that wanted to ask you questions, but we'll be back. Dr. Brown and Bamitu. So that's okay. Please promise to be back soon enough.
Yes, I will.
Okay, happy birthday, Prof. Wambiri.
Thank you.
I was nudging you on, and I was loving everything you were saying. I actually had few questions before, but then as time went on, you really truly touched on those areas. But I know there are few people that still would love to hear from you. So we'll be here expecting.
I believe he's coming back. He's coming back very soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is our mama law. Lawyer Tinu Akintola.
Yes.
Yeah, she's from Ijebu.
No, Bogonio. It's Bogon.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No.
Bye
For
bye.
today, she's from
Bye-bye.
Nembe. Because
Thank
Dr.
you.
Waliluko.
All right.
How far
Bye-bye.
is it from Nembe?
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
So that
Thank
ball.
you.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
So we thank God. We thank God for everybody that are here, and people who could not ask questions. Our time was a little bit constrained.
So I didn't know you went out. I didn't see you.
Okay. So
No, I didn't know. I didn't see you.
Baba Bankole is speaking, but he didn't know his thing is still on.
Okay. Well, a dúpẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ gbogbo ẹ̀yin èèyàn tí ẹ bá wa bẹ̀rẹ̀. A dúpẹ́ ibi tá a ti bẹ̀rẹ̀. A dúpẹ́ ibi tí a bá dé. A tún dúpẹ́ fún ibi tí à ń lọ ní ọjọ́ ọ̀la. Mo ń fi àsìkò yìí kí gbogbo wa. Mo ń fi àsìkò yìí kí ìgbìmọ̀ amúṣẹ́ṣe Yorùbá Gbòde. Ẹ dákun, ta ló ń sọ̀rọ̀?
It's Baba Bankole's. Okay, want to mute.
A dúpẹ́ ibi tí à ń lọ lórí ètò Yorùbá Gbòde. Ibi tá à ń lọ kì í ṣe kékeré. Ibi tá à ń lọ kò jìnnà, ṣùgbọ́n ibi tó tóbi ni ní àṣẹ Ọlọ́run. Mo tún fi àsìkò yìí dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àwọn ọmọ ìgbìmọ̀ amúṣẹ́ṣe Yorùbá Gbòde. Ṣé ẹ̀ẹ̀kan là ń ṣe Yorùbá Gbòde ní Sunday? Ìpàdé tí wọ́n ti di méjì lọ́sẹ̀. Wọn ò sì rojú, wọn ò bínú, kódà wọn ò ṣe àròyé, wọn ò ṣe awuyewuye. Mo dúpẹ́ púpọ̀ lọ́wọ́ wọn. Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń wọlé náà, ẹni tó bá omi ìṣọwọ́ kó má bínú pé òun ò bóúnjẹ, ó ṣàbá kan. Ẹni tí ò bomi ìṣọwọ́ rárá ń kọ́. Okay. Àwa ti parí o. Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wọlé ẹ káàbọ̀. Okay. We finish with the guests. So I'm taking this opportunity to tell you again, we are taking registration for Yoruba Gbòde Language School. Please register your grandchildren. If you miss it for the children, don't miss it for the grandchildren. Our children are learning Mandarin. Hey, Ogunde o, Mandarin làwọn ọmọ wa ń kọ́, àwọn ò sì gbọ́ Yorùbá. Olúwa wa àwa gbé. Please, ẹ jẹ́ kí ọmọ yín ó sọ Yorùbá. Yorùbá la ó máa sọ o. A ò ní sọ èdèkédè nínú ilé wa. Ẹ jẹ́ kí ọmọ yín ó sọ Yorùbá. Ẹ forúkọ sílẹ̀. Níbikíbi tí Ṣángì bá ti ṣèdààmú, ẹ pè Yorùbá Gbòde. A wọ̀gbọ́n dá sí, ṣùgbọ́n ẹ gbọ́dọ̀ fi hàn wá pé Ṣángì ṣèdààmú lóòótọ́. Ẹ ṣeun, a dúpẹ́. Ní ọjọ́ mẹ́jọ, kùtùkùtù ó tún yìnrìn, ṣẹ̀gẹ̀dẹ̀ ó ṣẹ̀. A tún dán nǹkan wò lórí ètò yìí kí ẹlẹ́mìí ò mọ̀ gbà. Àwọn àáfàá kan tún bọ̀. Àti ìparí oṣù Abíyì, ó kù méjì lórí oṣù Abíyì. Lẹ́yìn ìgbà tá a bá ṣe oṣù Abíyì tán ni àlejò wa pàtàkì wọ́n wá láìpẹ́ yìí. Àwa la tún pè wọ́n torí wọn ò parí ìbéèrè. Kábíyèsí ọba Àgémowó, bàbá wa tí wọ́n wá ní nǹkan bíi ọ̀sẹ̀ bíi mẹ́ta sẹ́yìn tí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wa ò ráyè béèrè ìbéèrè. Àwa ní ìbéèrè, àwọn náà sì ní ìdáhùn. Àwa ní ká pa gbogbo ẹ̀ pọ̀ kí wọ́n padà wá ní ọ̀sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀. Tá a bá ti ṣe oṣù Abíyì tán, kábíyèsí ọba Àgémowó àwọn ni wọ́n wọlé láti tún bá wa sọ̀rọ̀. Ẹ mú gbogbo ìbéèrè yín wá lórí tó bá kan àwọn ọba aláyé ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Gbogbo ètò ààbò, gbogbo ọ̀nà tí a gbà tí ó fi júṣe. Kábíyèsí ń bọ̀. Mo dúpẹ́ púpọ̀ lọ́wọ́ wọn gan, torí iṣẹ́ pọ̀ ọwọ́ díjú, ṣùgbọ́n mo ní bàbá tí ní wọn ó padà, ọba kan ó padà wá. Tán àbá ti ráyè padà wá, ó tún di kinní nínú ká sì tètè mú kúrò. Àwọn náà bá gbà sí wa lẹ́nu pé àwọn máa wá. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ wọn. Wọ́n ń bọ̀ ní ọjọ́ mẹ́jọ lórí Yorùbá Gbòde ní kété tá a bá ti parí oṣù Abíyì tán. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n tún wá rán yín létí o gbogbo ẹ̀yin ọmọ ìyá mi lórí Yorùbá Gbòde. A ní ètò kan ìdánilẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ìjíròrò bá a ti máa ṣe lórí Zoom. Tí eléyìí dálé lórí ó ní ọ̀rọ̀ òwò ẹrú, báwo ló ṣe kan Yorùbá. Òwò ẹrú á ṣe tó Sunday bíi 3 tàbí 4, torí ẹ rí pé gbogbo ìgbà ni ọ̀rọ̀ òwò ẹrú ìní máa ń jáde ló sì máa ń dá wàhálà sílẹ̀. Kí ni ká ṣe? N tá a gbọ́dọ̀ kọ́kọ́ ṣe ká tó mọ ibi tá à ń lọ ni pé a gbọ́dọ̀ ní òye. Tá a bá ní òye nǹkan, a lè mọ ọwọ́ tá a fi mú un. Ẹ dákun, ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìgbà ni àwọn ẹlòmíì ó sọ nǹkan, ṣe rí pé àríyànjiyàn fẹ́ ṣẹlẹ̀. Bàbá Moyè sì sábà bá yàn jiyàn, ṣùgbọ́n ó ṣẹlẹ̀ lónìí. Tá a bá wá ní òye tó kún dáadáa, ṣe ẹ rí i pé a lè máa báwọn èèyàn sọ̀rọ̀ nípa nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀. Ẹ̀yin onínú dídùn ọlọ́rẹ tí ẹ máa ràn wá lọ́wọ́ lórí Yorùbá Gbòde, ó kéré ni ò jẹun fún ọ là ń pè ní ahun. Ẹ má gbàgbé wa, Ọlọ́run ò ní gbàgbé yín. Zelle àti nọ́mbà tí a máa fi ránṣẹ́ òun náà ni ẹ lò. Zelle, ẹ foríjì mi, Zelle àti Yorùbá Gbòde email sholayorubagbode@gmail.com. Ṣọlá tí ò ní hí, Ṣọlá àti Yorùbá ni, kì í ṣe Ṣọlá sh. Ṣọlá@yorùbágbòde, sholayorubagbode@gmail.com. sholayorubagbode@gmail.com. Eléyìí nìkan ni ẹ lè lò láti ṣe Zelle ránṣẹ́ sí wa. Ọlọ́run ò ní gbàgbé yín. Bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti ń ta ni yóò máa ró, tẹ́ bá ti ń fọ́n yóò máa dún, tẹ́ bá ti ń lù yóò máa dún bákan náà. Ẹwà náà kò ní tán bẹ̀ láṣẹ Ọlọ́run. Mo kí yín o, ẹ̀yin aláwẹ̀ àti gbogbo ẹ̀yin àjọ̀sán náà. Mo kí yín náà. Wọ́n ní a máa kí yín, amójú àwọn àjọ̀sán, wọ́n ní a máa dárúkọ wọn. Àbí ká dáa.
Gbogbo wa là ń gbà àwẹ̀ Màmá Yusuf. Àwẹ̀ ti bá àwẹ̀ ńlẹ̀. Lẹ́ǹtì wà ńlẹ̀, Ramadan náà wà ńlẹ̀.
Rárá tí yóò láti jẹ́ pé wà lára àwọn àjọ̀sán. Wọ́n ní
ẹ̀rẹ́nu mi tí ì ṣinú látàárọ̀ bọ̀ mo ti jẹ wàásìn.
Ẹnu òbí ìfò ẹ ti kó bára yín.
Àwọn lọ́ọ̀yà ẹ̀dẹ̀ parọ́ o, àwọn lọ́ọ̀yà ò kì í parọ́ o.
No, èmi gan ò gbọ́dọ̀ parọ́, mo ti sínú lẹ́ẹ̀mẹ́ta lónìí náà.
Oh my Lord.
Bàbá tí yín ò le, àwẹ̀ arúgbó ń bọ̀, ṣé àwọn bàbá máa ń gbà àwẹ̀ arúgbó?
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
Ẹ̀mẹ́ta mẹ́rin ni wọ́n sínú.
Eyín tiẹ̀ tún wá dá ẹ lè ṣínú lẹ́ẹ̀mẹ́fà.
Ẹ ṣáà ti máa gbàdúrà.
Mo dúpẹ́. Ọpẹ́ mi bẹ̀rẹ̀ látọ̀dọ̀ àwọn amòye àti gbogbo àwọn kòyẹ̀kògbò lórí ètò Yorùbá Gbòde. Ọlọ́run ò ní gbà wá lọ́wọ́ ara wa. Alàgbà àtẹwọ́lógún wọn ní ẹ mọ́ ṣiṣẹ́ ń jọ Sunday mẹ́tún lọ bí iṣẹ́. Rántí ọjọ́ ìsinmi láti lò ó ní mímọ́. Ọjọ́ 6 ni ìwọ yóò ṣiṣẹ́, tí ìwọ yóò ṣiṣẹ́ rẹ gbogbo, ṣùgbọ́n ní ọjọ́ 7 ìwọ yóò sinmi. Bí n bá tún pàdé yín lọ́nà ibi iṣẹ́, ìfẹ̀jọ́ yín sùn Jésù.
Wọ́n lè dá wọn wà lórí fóònù.
Ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n gbọ́ ní tí mo wí, wọ́n fi gbígbọ́ ṣaláìgbọ́ ni. Ẹ ṣeun. Ní ọjọ́ 8 a pàdé, ẹ mú ìbéèrè yín wá fún kábíyèsí àti fún àwọn ẹlẹ́sìn mùsùlùmí. Ṣọlá Yusuf ni orúkọ mi. Èmi ní obìnrin gbọ̀ngbọ̀ngbọ̀n bí ẹ ń tẹ̀pá òjé, àìtó ní bá gbé ká má tó ní bá wí. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni àìsí ìtó ní bá wí ká má tó ní bá gbé ọmọ wọn nílé Olú Òkun ní Ìbàdàn nílé Olúyọ̀lé. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yèyé mi ò, torí pé ẹni tó fún ni lówó kò fẹ́ kí ebi ó pa ni. Ẹni tó fún ni nímọ̀ kò fẹ́ ká rìn lókun ẹni mọ̀. Ẹni tó fún ni lọ́mọ kò fẹ́ kí á jàjẹrun bí iṣu. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yèyé mi. Egbin-ọlá Adékúnbí àtúnwá ẹ̀dùn ló kọ́ mi láṣà àmújèrè àṣà. Ire ní mògùn ará alágbẹ̀dẹ ọmọ awó ni tún ni rọ ibi tó bá wà. Ilẹ̀
rẹ̀
o. Ṣé yẹn ló jẹ́ kẹ́ ẹ má tiẹ̀ bá mi sọ̀rọ̀ rárá lẹ́nu tó dá o?
Mi sọ fún yín pé wọn ò gbọ́.
Ẹ̀gbọ́n tí mo wí, ó dáa, èmi àṣàjẹmọ́ṣẹ́ ń ó tún wá sọ. mo ní a ní ẹ mọ̀ lọ ṣọ́ amẹ́ ní ẹ mọ̀ lọ bí iṣẹ́ níjọ́ Sunday ẹ tún lọ bí iṣẹ́ wọ́n sì ní rántí ọjọ́ ìsinmi láti lò ó ní mímọ́ ọjọ́ 6 ni ìwọ yóò ṣiṣẹ́ kẹmọ́pẹ́ ẹ̀gbọ́ tí ìwọ yóò ṣiṣẹ́ rẹ gbogbo ṣùgbọ́n ní ọjọ́ 7 ìwọ yóò sinmi.
ṣé mi àbáwọn ọmọ
ẹ̀yin ni.
ṣé mi àbáwọn ọmọ
ẹ̀yin ni.
Ọ̀túnba ló jẹ́ kẹ́ sọ orúkọ báyẹn o. Ọ̀túnba ló jẹ́ kẹ́ sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ o.
tí mo pàdé yín níbi iṣẹ́ níjọ́ Sunday.
Ọ̀túnba ló jẹ́ kẹ́ sọ bẹ́ẹ̀.
Jésù bẹ́ẹ̀ ni wọ́n mọ̀ fẹjọ́ yín sùn pásítọ̀.
Kì í sọ orúkọ báyẹn tẹ́lẹ̀ Ọ̀túnba ló jẹ́ kẹ́ sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ torí pé wọ́n dẹ̀ jẹ́ kí òkúta mi ṣiṣẹ́ ni.
Àwọn náà jẹ́ kọ́ ṣe ti rí
àwọn ni. Wọ́n ṣe wọ́n ṣe ni ẹ̀wọ̀n ní jẹ́ kí
Màmá
òkúta mi
Yusuf
ṣiṣẹ́.
kẹ́ tó lọ ẹ jẹ́ kí n play message yín fún yín kẹ́ lè rí nǹkan tí mò ń sọ.
No, ẹ ní láti play ẹ má jà play ẹ já play ẹ lórí fóònù but lẹ́yìn kábíyèsí mo rò pé 4th Sunday lẹ ń bọ̀ ní April tá a máa parí ẹ̀. Mo ti rẹ́lòmí náà tó ní àwọn rí mistake yẹn àwọn rí kinní yẹn pé ó gbọ́dọ̀.
Even mẹ́ta tẹ send sí mi for this ìjẹta the same thing.
Màá béèrè lọ́wọ́ àwọn ẹnjìníà ìdí ẹ̀ tó fi ń cut off èmi ẹ ṣe ẹnjìníà tó mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo àwọn tó ràn wá lọ́wọ́ mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹnjìníà mi ní Ìbàdàn Taofiki ó ṣeun o Èkó ló ń tiẹ̀ wá ń tiẹ̀ Taofiki ààrẹ Èkó ó ṣeun adúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbọ̀ngàn kọ́ o gbọ̀ngàn kọ́ o.
Uncle Fẹ́mi.
gbọ̀ngàn kọ́ o gbogbo nǹkan náà lẹ́sẹ̀ á lọ
bàbá ti adopt gbogbo wa ẹ má wọrí.
Good news fún ara gbọ̀ngàn ni new restructure tó fẹ́ ṣe.
Gbọ̀ngàn ni capital.
Wọ́n ní
capital
capital of Yoruba state. Yoruba country, Federal Republic of Yoruba.
Kí ló dé tẹ́ fẹ́ dá sí bàbá lọ́wọ́?
Àwórì ní capital Yoruba nation máa jẹ́ lágbàá.
Ok, àti bẹ̀rẹ̀ fight yẹn nìyẹn.
Ṣé ẹ ti rí?
Èmi ò bá yín, èmi ò kúkú sọ pé dandan ni kẹgbẹ́ wá sáwẹ́.
Iṣẹ́ ti mọ̀ pé iṣẹ́ ti pé
ìgbà tó bá ti pọ̀ jù.
Ṣe fẹ́ fún yín.
Àwọn yín làjà.
Àwọn ìjà sí kíní ni. Ọjà ẹ̀jẹ̀ níjọ́ tẹ́ ẹ bá agree. Lọ́tẹ̀ bá agree pé Ìbàdàn ló máa jẹ́ kíní ìjọ yẹn láfún yín ní tẹ̀wá.
Ẹ̀yin lè jókòó sórí ẹ̀.
Àwọn Ìjẹ̀bú lè challenge wa wọn sọ̀rọ̀ sókè. Àwọn Ìjẹ̀bú wọn sọ̀rọ̀ sókè so Àwórì làwọn agbè sí.
Kí ni Ìjẹ̀bú máa sọ ìjọba
kò sẹ́ni tó fẹ́ gùn ní nǹkan kan.
À ń wo gbogbo yín ni. Ẹ bá jà tán àwa bá yín ṣẹ́tù lẹ̀.
No, Dr. Oyefule nǹkan tẹ́ máa ṣe ni pé ẹ ṣáàjọ máa sọ tiwọn ẹ lọ sí ilé wa ṣẹmọ.
Irọ́ mi lọ kò necessary lọ ilé wa ó wà lápò mi.
Ó wà lápò.
Wọ́n ń gbèrè ní.
Àwùjalẹ̀.
That's right.
Ọ̀rọ̀ àtẹ́wọ́lógún nítorí pé mo wà táàmù àwẹ̀ ni kò lè jẹ́ kí n sọ̀rọ̀ sókè so màá ní sùúrù after wẹ̀.
Ọ̀tún máa ń gbàwẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n ti mu tíì láàárọ̀ yìí wọ́n ti jẹ̀bà lọ́sàn-án yìí.
Ìsí àní alábà fún yín ní sísí Ìjẹ̀bú Òde sẹ ẹ má wọrí.
Tẹ̀lé wọn káàkiri ni.
Ǹjẹ́ bọ́ọ̀tù bá ní à.
Mínísítà àtẹ́wọ́lógún ẹ má volunteer citizenship wa fún àwọn tó bá sanwó ìlú Ọ̀túnba yìí wọ́n gbọ́dọ̀ sanwó tó pọ̀ gan-an. It's not for free.
Dọ́kítọ̀ ṣé tí Fúlàní bá mú owó wá ẹ̀ fún?
Ó ti o.